Hi, everybody, welcome. I'm Aurora. This is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, what I've been calling the 2025 semester. Our completion, not finale, not like the end of everything, but just the completion of what we're doing here for the semester that actually started at the end of last year. It's April 30th, 2025. And this lesson in the formal curriculum, I usually call the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, like the future and beyond. I didn't send out my notes because everything from 10 years ago was relevant to 10 years ago and is definitely, we are in a vastly different place on the map or vastly different place in the territory of what we need to be talking about. So some of the things I want to talk about are issues that I touched upon in lesson 17. Some aspects of like how much interdimensional help do you have? How much, who's out there? What will you find on the other side of victory? Hold on, let me also, I hope my sound settings are okay. I hope you guys can hear me okay. Um, oh, thank you very good much. Mary Ellen says, looking forward to this. Fantastic, good. Because I think that it's important for us to have a clear vision of like, what's the good stuff? What happens in this moment of ascension? What happens on the other side? What does this all look like? Because I will just articulate like pardon my fragmentation. Let me start from the beginning. I feel like one of the very final spiritual and ego traps that are offered to aspirants at this moment in our journey is the sense of like a benevolent space race or some benevolent otherworldly force that comes forward and says, dun, dun, like, I'm finally here to help you fight those bad guys. Or that would be like if we weren't completely victorious. What if we are victorious? Not what if, but in one hypothetical possibility, we are victorious on our own and we come forward and then find a group of, supposedly benevolent or whatever otherworldly or supernatural creatures who then say, hi, I'm here, I'm your friend, and let or anything, making overtures or at any level of that. This is really big stuff. Because I think, like I said, the final false illusion or ploy or trap is a sense of impostors who are not genuine friends, but who are actually representatives of all of the illusory and purely malevolent things that we actually fight against, that would try to come forward and say, we're finally here, or align with us, or here's the real peril. Somehow acquiesce for free will, or allow this new supposedly benevolent force to either influence or run your world. And I do not consent to any of those things. And I'm here wearing like my shirt, one of my last things that I was able to get printed before the tariffs went into effect. My last, whatever care package from my artistic print service. Yeah, no, I feel hugely protective over this world, and that I would not want some, I've called them in the past carpetbaggers, which is definitely a derogatory term that was from the post-Civil War American South. That was after the place was destroyed and ravaged by years of civil war in the late 1800s, that wealthy people would come from another place with carpet bags and buy up land and other properties that were available, kind of swoop on in and be like, hi, like now that your place is destroyed, we're here to supposedly help and fix things up, but they greatly enriched themselves. And they were also invaders or not true community members in many ways. So that is what I'm warning you against. The sense of either exploiters or those who are not true community members coming in a moment of vulnerability. What's on the other side? I don't even know if there's anybody out there. So this is me in my very raw, authentic honesty, as I tell you, like from my own impression, my own inner guidance system, and what I can see from this perspective here in the world alongside of you. It's very much like driving in a fog, that there is a techno fog. I can hold up all my different pieces of paper that I usually hold up. And I appreciate your patience in the difficulties and convolutions of me being able to even speak to you and share these things with you. But it's quite extraordinary that we're even able to have these conversations on this technological system, and especially some of these platforms that are, not unfettered, that are diminished and sometimes contain obstacles. And then you have to dance around them. Um, that we wouldn't want for your ascension energy, your planetary energies, and your own power to be diminished or diluted, especially by those who are unworthy, especially by those who are just looking to, come in a moment of weakness, and also who I think would be obsolete or unnecessary as you are coming into your levels of supreme empowerment. So there's several different takes that I go through with this. Some of them are purely logical that have to do with the sense of, like in math, which is why I love math, everything is logical. Like if this is happening, then this, but if this is happening, then this. And that's it. It's very simple like that. There's not all of this emotional stuff and personality conflicts that are going on that are always very confusing and not only distressing, inconceivable. They're inconceivable to me. And that's why I wrote that song called Incomprehensible Rules. I'm like, I do not comprehend the rules in this place because many of them are emotional, arbitrary, anthropomorphic, and do not make sense like in the way that math makes sense. But the things that you're doing with Ascension have to do with your ability to create reality. And as you're creating reality, you want to make sure that your creation is never hijacked or diluted or your ability to create taken away from you. In fact, I would say we were very, very close to Ascension in 2020. And don't distress if I tell you these things and I'm feeling like your shoulders are starting to go down. You're like, yeah, guys, I know we were supposed to be there and we're not there. And now we've been going for 5 more years. I know, but put your spine up straight and do not feel that way. And not that I want to control your behavior, but please be encouraged because a lot was taken from you, but we're going to rectify this and we get back on track. Not that it's definitely lemonade out of lemons, because I do not feel that your life is created to be like, well, let's see how bad it can get and then see how much you can pull yourself out of a nosedive. No, that is not what is supposed to actually be happening in your life. You're supposed to be, if I talk about Ascension, and I know I now have like 12 different conversation stripes that are open for you. So you'll just have to stay along with me here, but we'll complete all of these open windows for you. Ascension and the qualities of Ascension are supposed to be kind of like childbirth. Imagine, and even like I always include, like, even if you're a male, like, please imagine the vulnerability of what it is. I've never given birth, but what a woman would need, or what you would like to provide for someone who is giving birth in this way, that you want to make sure that they are like safe and warm and comfortable and can relax. And of course, have all the nourishment that they need. And that maybe they've even got beloved community members around them, and that they have all of the things that they desire and require for what is already a very perilous, very difficult, great unlikelihood. And that is what Ascension is. And that is also really what Flying Rainbow Lasagna is, that it's something that I feel like we can't take it for granted. Like, although our world is so fertile and there's so much life everywhere and seeds grow and babies come out, I think we can't take it for granted and just be like, oh yeah, sure. Like, you just throw down a seed and it grows, or, whatever, babies, squirrels pop out squirrel babies all the time. It's no big deal. No, I think that we really have to look at the unlikelihood of what is happening as a negative entropy event. Birth is the opposite of entropy. Entropy is when everything goes kaput, and birth is when things actually begin. It is the ultimate unlikelihood. We cannot take it for granted. So it is a very important thing. And that those of us who are in a position to do so should be supportive of what the birth process, right? So like, if you're not personally giving birth, but it's a community member, you cluster around them and try to help them. Our planet is giving birth. So I'm wearing this shirt today. The entirety of life in this world that we're in is coming forward into greater levels of interconnectivity and capacitation. So those are some of the things I want to talk about on the other side of this experience. Like, what will it be like? Like, you will be telepathic. What is a telepathic society like? How do we act? I want to talk about what it was like for me in ancient concurrent Atlantis, and also be able to give you a sense of how would that translate into the present and the expected future, because we're not going to have things exactly the way they were. They are definitely not going to be as they were as you were in peril. There will have to be a new way of doing things. Everything is getting recalibrated. So the theme today, as I've like stumbled through this whole entire beginning here, because sometimes it takes me a long time to organize my thoughts. So thank you. And sometimes my brain does not connect fully to my mouth. The theme here is bringing forward this new reality and what it takes in order to do it in a new way. Clearly, the previous ways were vulnerable or inadequate, or let's say not fully adequate. Like if I talk about the flying rainbow lasagna, let's grab the lasagna over here. And I say that this is an additional thing that is added on top of cosmic law. It's not that cosmic law was inadequate, like, the entire architecture of the cosmos is wrong. Throw it all out, like throw it all in the trash. That would be hugely wasteful and very, very wrong. The architecture of cosmic law and all of these causalities, what makes reality happen, what makes matter possible, what makes energy exist, what makes your consciousness exist, these are all rock solid. These are all really, really good things, like the foundation of math. When I joke about that being 1 + 1 = 2, like that's a foundational truth. You can stick with that. You know that that is for real. But it wasn't fully adequate. It wasn't fully built. And when I talk to you about the journey of the chakras, like when you're sending energy from your perspective from the matter denser world into the less dense world, from the red chakra all the way up into your divine connection, there's this moment when you're not all the way there, but you're mostly there, right? Like you're like filled up to this amount, but not fully reconnecting to here. So teetering, perilous moment. And that's actually what humanity's been experiencing for like the past 2,000 years. So it's a cosmic moment. It's not just 1 second of your life. It's actually a whole cultural moment. And you're just now starting to come out of that. But that inadequacies of that level of being, we don't throw away the entire thing, but you must add an additional something, either a truthfulness, or an activity, or a description, or a way of doing things to make it complete. And then when you add that final thing, whatever that something is, like a lasagna, then it becomes complete, and then it is perfect, and then it is also like impregnable, or so perfectly structured that it is not destroyed in the cosmic whirlwinds of energy. So, if you have an egg and it's a perfect shape and it's very good at protecting the occupants of the egg inside, because it distributes forces. The egg is a perfect shape because it helps to distribute forces and to prevent it from cracking. But if it's not fully made, if there's a part missing, then it has no structural integrity. So your body's force field is kind of like an egg. And when it is not fully structured, or humanity's force field, or the planet's force field is not fully structured, it's in a vulnerable state. And then adding those final truths, those light is information. I keep saying this every week, path of light. And I keep on not creating the sign up form because I have a lot going on right now. So we just have to laugh about that. I think you'll probably even laugh about it more later. But I have a lot of cosmic duties that I'm doing at all times. And so I've not been able to create the sign up form. But thank you very much for those who have contacted me with your interest. And I promise I will make the sign up form after I complete class today, and make sure to include it with the description. That will be starting not next week, but the week after that, because next week I have my dance group that is coming here to Ojai. But Path of Light, and to be a part of that class and go into that perspective, because this is the completion. Light is information, light is energy, light is intelligence, and the building of your light body really is about embodying levels of structural truth. And when you embody those structural truths, then you become like an egg, a perfect form that can never be crushed by these indescribable forces, indescribably intense forces that are forces of time and consciousness and very, very large cosmic infrastructure. So it is for maintaining your own personal integrity amidst these incredible pressures and things that you have to, event structures that you have to navigate through. But that light information is something that has not been flowing to our planet easily, especially not over the past 10 years and definitely not over the past 5 years. Not only optical light being blocked out, but light of consciousness. And that light itself is what is supposed to be nourishing you in this birth process. You're supposed to be receiving information, growing your light body. Your light body, you don't get fatter, you get brighter. So that's a positive thing. I know I'm actually very like about body positivity, and I want people to feel good about themselves and feel good about their nutrients. But I know that there is a fear when people eat too many cookies. They're like, will I get too large? If you eat too much light, like you won't get larger, you'll get brighter. And you'd see someone, you'd be like, that guy's been eating a lot of light. Yes, you've been eating a lot of light. But that is positive. That means you're getting very, very intelligent, or very, very well informed, or very, very connected to divine intelligence. True light is really the expression of divine intelligence, and it means that you're conforming to the architecture of perfection in reality. It means that all of your body processes, thought forms, and behaviors are a perfect dance that structures and connects with the perfect dance of everything around you. I know that that's a tall order, but that is really what you are in training for. That is what the Flying Rainbow Lasagna dance is. At this moment in your development, you're not expected to dance 100% of the time, all the time. Like you do a little dance and then you kind of like go back into your relaxed, unself-conscious state, and you go through your day. And then the next day you dance again, or, the next opportunity you dance again. So when you graduate, then you will dance all the time and never stop. But in order to do that, you need to have a total 100% fire hose of light coming into you. And the analogy of a woman who is giving birth, like not only are you guys being expected to give birth to yourself and give birth to a new planet and give birth to a new reality and create a whole new reality template, but you're being expected to do it with almost no light coming into the planet. That's very, very crappy. And then your shoulders start to go down. And I'm like, no, put your shoulders back up, because this is also part of why, like, I am here to help to get groceries so that you guys can get inspired and also informed and know what is going on. And the more that you're able to do Flying Rainbow Lasagna, you can get out to get groceries too. You're like, wait, there's a food room out there? Yes, it is. It's called the World of Pure Information. And you want to be vibrating with the world of pure information. You want to be receiving that information, and you want to be using that as literally the structure for your being, even to the point of a cellular embodiment, that what you're in. So ascension doesn't necessarily mean flying out of your body and leaving the material world behind. It does mean completely informing matter with energy, or imbuing it with this ephemeral spirit so that it behaves entirely differently. And that's what I'll just affirm and say repetitively in this class. What we've been doing is calling it S matter, like spirit matter, something that is an amalgamation of both of these qualities, a perfect balance, matter that is not dead or stupid or inert, but a type of matter that instead responds directly to thought, or even is the direct manifestation of thought. Now, if you're in a world where you are experiencing the direct manifestation of thought, you want to be very, very virtuous, very, very good at what you're doing, a total super genius, and having the intention to manifest good stuff. Because if you're like not good at your job, or kind of dumb, or really evil, or how about full of fear, like manifesting what I might call it, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, or Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man, your deepest fear, manifesting your deepest fear. No, we don't really want any of those things in the moment of ascension. And again, for us, the moment of ascension could be like hundreds or thousands of years. So just please know that. So I know I still have many, many open conversational tabs here, but let me hydrate and then tell you about what ascension was like in Atlantis, or what it was in the past from my perspective, because it is something that I experienced. But Atlantis is still an ongoing shell of reality. Where's the potential to ascend from that shell? So first of all, not everybody ascended at the same moment there. Here we are doing a planetary ascension where we are all going to coordinate. It's going to be really awesome. But also please know that that is a tall order to coordinate all of these like spiritual births at the same moment, and not just humans. Also, of course, your dogs and cats and horses, and also this beautiful house plant that is behind me here, and every blade of grass that's out there. Like, yes, you will have ascended blades of grass. To emphasize, it is not merely an anthropocentric or human-centered experience. And this was, oh, you got to meet yourselves, and never, because I just can't when I'm in my flow. Thank you. When people think about heaven, they think it's a cloudy place where you wear a long white dress and you're pretty much just floating around. Your feet don't really touch the ground. It's definitely this, poetic allegory, but there's no grass. Like yours, there's no ground. You're not walking around on your feet. You're kind of floating. Where's the grass? And I think that that would not be a heavenly reality, because walking on like perfectly soft grass that is beautiful and green, and that is part of the connection to the sun and the world of photosynthesis and the life force energy that comes off of those little plants. Grass are super happy and super jubilant is the word for them completely. It flows into you. And so being not connected to that doesn't really seem like it would be an ascended experience. But the allegory of being this disconnected, cloudy realm is very like a distant memory or a reverberation that you feel for what the level of, I would call it like a floating city that has disengaged from the ground and that is able to be sustained, but not fully disengaged from the planet. So it's still like hovering off of the surface of the planet. Ascension in ancient Atlantis is that process of going from being ground-based to being hovering. And when you're hovering, like clearly there is no safety net. So you must sustain one another. Grass and plants can also be with you hovering. That's just a big, important thing for you to comprehend. And the structure is the toroidal structure. So you don't have to be like, are we bringing potted plants? Like, will I have to bring my potted plants from my soil, from my grass to grow in so that way I can walk on top of my grass? No, it does not act like that. Everything is the beautiful torus. I have my sculpture over there somewhere. Everything is the beautiful torus, and all of these beautiful tori fit together. So beyond anthropomorphism, beyond the sense of a three-dimensional reality where you are on the ground. In fact, I sometimes talk about this too. The journey of going into space is not a journey of jumping off of the surface of your planet, but it is a journey of consciousness of going into a non-three-dimensional defined space. So it really means like going out of space. Here you find yourselves like I'm right now in a box. I'm in my house. My house is a box. Like we're all used to this. This is being in a certain level of reality. But when you ascend, you are no longer in that level of reality. But this is not the same as flying from point A to point B in a clank metal spaceship, like whatever, to fly to the moon or to fly to Mars or to fly in that way. That is actually non-optimal and not what you really want to do. Those are not places that are supportive of life. Like there's a reason why there's no one living like in between your planet's surface and the moon right now. Like there's not a place to live there. There is no place to live there. But in ancient Atlantis, there was a way to live there as this type of self-generative collective. So you also are in the process of learning about the sun that is within you, and comparing that to your present viewpoint of the sun being external to you. That's why I think it's very important for you guys to continue with the curriculum and segue right into the path of light, because that is the perspective of what it is like from a person who is embodying light, not just merely outside of the path of light or watching the light flow by or being at slow speeds and dense bodies and then saying like, well, light is infinite and ephemeral and very fast. It's yourself becoming very, very fast and becoming part of that infinite realm, or re-becoming part of that infinite realm. And I want to say celebrating and elevating. So that's why those words just collided in my brain. Celebrating and elevating your material structure to the point that it is accelerated and is at light speed again, because light speed is also where you come from. And that is the embodiment of being on the path of light. And when you're on the path of light and you're embodying all this light, you're not looking at it like it's a sun over there, out there somewhere. You're really feeling it like the sun is inside of you, and the sun is inside of you. And then you also feel that there is an atmosphere around you. And then you also feel that you are able to generate and sustain all of the energies that you need for your eternal existence as a perfect, complete egg. And when you do that, you're not going into like isolation or hyper self-reliance or being like, that's it, like, I'm complete. Like, screw you. Sorry, this is a little PG-13. Like, get out of here, everyone. I don't need any of you. No, that's not what this is. And that's not what my Aurora Collective is either. And that's not what this floating city is like. It is very reciprocal. So even as you become integral as an individual, you also will want to connect effectively and joyfully with other organisms, creating complex patterns, because those complex patterns are really a part of what sustains you. So I am very good at like being the first person out on the dance floor. I'm like, I'm going to get out there and I'm not self-conscious. I'm going to like start dancing and then I'll see who joins me, right? Because I've done this in the past. And that is very much what it was like in ancient Atlantis. Like, one person would be able to ascend, and I'll tell you what the process of that was like and just reaffirm that to you. But then others would start the process too, seeing that it is possible and encouraged by it. And then at a certain point, you've got like a quorum or critical mass, enough musicians in the band to be able to be totally self-generating and self-sustaining. And it's this kind of like chugging along type of thing that then you're able to untether from the planet and go off into all of these wonderful adventures, bouncing on the star network and going through the stellar network as a conglomerate of light. That is what Aurora is. And so if you're wondering, like, Aurora, like, back to that original question, like, where are these miscreants? How come we're doing this all on our own? We're tired and thirsty giving birth here. And how come nobody's out there helping us? And when we actually get through this on the other side, what are we going to find? And will we have to be like, there's no Aurora Collective, or what's going on? The Aurora Collective is there. The world of light is there. Stars are real. Maybe I even have to go down to that level. Not you guys in this class, but we must sometimes joke about the flat earth. People think of it as harmless hobby. Why do I care if that guy over there thinks about the flat earth, or thinks that we live under a motionless dome and that stars are little imposter lights, or that we're all in the Truman Show and that they're all meaningless spotlights, right? What do I care about that? And the answer is, in a telepathic society, those are considered like insane and corrosive thoughts. One person's little silly hobby can become something that is really it is disharmonic waveform that is sending outward, that pretty much negates, obliterates, denies, disrespects the sanctity and profundity of life. And I will tell you, so there's the real sun. I know that there's the sun simulator, but there's the real sun and there are real stars. And that each one of you, spoiler alert, becomes a star. And of course, I address the good people in my class here. I'm not talking about like evil people in the world, because being a star is maybe a little bit similar to how the same vernacular usage that people say here in the world about being a movie star or a rock and roll star, that it is a person who has a charisma, special personality qualities, an eternal sense of who they are or their eternal artistic contribution, and that they are having earned it in some way. So having a star quality is considered to be not the general population, but singular or special and unique, and something to be celebrated. And I want you to know that you people who come into this class and who watch these videos and listen to me, you have that quality. And I'm very, very pleased that you have that. And I'm happy that you listen to my communications and you're tuning into this. I'm bringing in light groceries to remind you of your true self, because I know that it can be confusing and sometimes de-energizing or exhausting and fatiguing to be here, especially without all of the light that you need. So I'm bringing it in as much as I can. And a lot of what I'm doing is giving it to your cognitive presence. Like, of course, I'm using vocabulary words. Sometimes I'm struggling to find the right vocabulary words here, but also I use things like artwork and music and dance to be able to bring this in. That conglomerate, when you are past ascension, but not yet fully untethered from the entire planet and not like fully adult. So I guess I don't know if that's the difficult teenage years. We can make all sorts of jokes. But that group is the epitome of like the most beautiful art, music, symphony, group of acrobatic geniuses. So you need to know that there's a lot of trust and reciprocity, just like how acrobats at a circus performance, maybe it's Cirque du Soleil or something like that. They're, they climb up on those bridges and then they're jumping and swirling and they catch each other and they have to be timed perfectly. And then they also have to have a huge amount of trust. They have to time everything perfectly. They have to coordinate their movements. And then you have to know like this person's going to jump and like this person's going to catch them. And that's what the organisms are like at this level of post-ascension. What is post-ascension like in the world that I'm familiar with? Having each person, or let's start at the sentence again, each person having gone through their process of inner refinement, purification, coming to know who they are and who they are not, and having a great life perspective on everything that they've experienced and self-cultivated, is able to then bring that to the band. And the band is like the band of the greats. Like it's you've achieved your greatness and you're joining with the other greats. And I recognize that in this world, there's a lot of things that are social and cultural and even genetic inner diminishments that bring people to a sense of self-doubt and low self-worth, and even a narrative story that is definitely kryptonite turning you into Clark Kent. A narrative story, especially the telecommunications stuff that I'm not allowed to talk about. The telecommunication waves are kryptonite that are literally, they've been on since 2020, trying to irradiate everyone into submission and get you to feel that you're not some kind of an amazing, whatever, floating, expansive presence, but instead like you're just like stuck on the ground, drinking coffee, buying toilet paper, and doing nonsense work, and just kind of bumbling around on the ground. And those are false identities that are being projected upon you, when the true identity is of someone who is very heroic and noble and brave and going through the world with goodness and doing amazing good things. And like, if I can just cut to the chase, I feel like that is what it is to be Christ in the world. And I talked about this a lot in lesson 17. And there's actually a lot of, I think, beautiful reflections of this message everywhere. So I'm not the only person talking about this, but we definitely need to embody and create that vibration or that frequency, even if it is not coming to us from what feels like an external place or from some other group of people or organisms or something like that. I think we have to be it. We have to embody it. If it's not here, we have to create it. When I talk about things like the sun and the stars in our world being errant or absent, I have definitely been disappointed at times where I'm like, why did the sun not do some amazing thing in order to purge this world of evil pathogens, parasites, technologies, and other things that are very anti-ascension? And instead of going into those levels of disappointment like harumph, and then, the disempowerment, like, I'm going to shake my fist at the sky. Like, you do something up there, out there. I'm like, instead of you do something out there, up there, I'm like, I will do something in here, in here. And this is also in Path of Light, the transformation into recognizing through your full embodiment and being fully in your body and being fully empowered, you are able to have a huge impact on reality and not simply be experiencing something that is, like you're an audience member, merely experiencing it unfold around you, but that you are very much the auteur, the writer, the director, the experiencer, and that you're with so many others that are co-experiencing it too. the trust and the acrobatics that are happening at that higher level created a cascade of events that created reality on the ground. Where are these events? Who writes this stuff, right? Like, where do these events come from? Like, why is reality happening? Who makes these narratives happen? And of course, from your perspective on the ground, it's a partnership. Some of it is what you are emanating outward from yourself. You're like, I am making music like this, but then some of it is the larger symphony. But then you can say, like, well, who's writing music for the larger symphony? And it's turtles all the way down, but it's turtles all the way up. So that means, like, as you keep going up and up and up, there's an infinite bridge upward. Like, who's doing this? Like, you're doing it, but you're doing it from successively higher and higher and higher octaves. So yes, you are the photon, you are the 0 point to the center of that sculpture that I always hold up. You are the epicenter of everything. You are God. And you're also all of these intervening levels between your present level of experience and that level of totality state that is God. And you're consistently, like mountain climbers, helping the next level of graduates to get to the next level. And that this is also very much why I'm here, because I could see way back in 2001 that there was a huge imbalance and that something had to be done in order to make certain that this group of planetary aspirants would graduate, and was not just like, oh, like, I think that I'll come in on this day or something like that. Like, I flying rainbows on that day and in that moment and into this life and into this body, because that was really like the opportunity that I had to be able to fix or add to the pre-existing structures that were incomplete, so that this planet and everyone here can get to the next level. So what I'm trying to say is that those of us who are already mature and who have already evolved to a certain extent, we have a great deal of care and consideration for the next group. And even many, many, many turtles down, like, you're not just like, well, I only care about those who are like my direct neighbors, right? Like, if you don't share a property line with me, then, like, too bad, you live too far away. No, but that is tribalism in your world. And I understand why people do that, because of resource insecurity and limitations in the material world. But in the world of light, first of all, there's an infinite amount of light, but there's also an infinite amount of responsibility. Basically, you are consciousness. You are connected to all light everywhere. You are connected to all light consciousness everywhere. And therefore, you care for all consciousness everywhere. And therefore, you care about what is happening to all consciousness everywhere. And then that is also why you would intervene if you see that there is a pathogenic infection, which is definitely what you've had in this world for a very long time. It's not even just this planet. It really goes all the way back to what is known as the Orion Wars. These are like vernacular terms, but we can all agree that we're talking about this thing when the Milky Way, arm of the Milky Way, got smushed. Stars got destroyed. This does not happen. And moved off of their orbits. That also does not happen. Huge disarrangement there. And just the fact that that could happen and the levels of disruption that then caused, negative, disharmonic music that came outward from there. That's everything recapped from, like, I want to say lesson 17 and lesson 18. Now what I'm trying to do is to give you like, how do we fix things? So I want to go a little bit more into the process of what we did or do in Atlantis. Because what is this process supposed to be like? It is supposed to be like, first of all, for spiritual athletes. So we lived very long lives, or live very long lives in Atlantis. And you wouldn't do this prematurely. It would definitely be something that would be done after many, many very long times of self-cultivation. And also, there's not a pressure to do it. It's not like, oh my God, I better ascend. Calgon, take me out of here. Or anything like that you feel in terms of money pressure. Because sometimes people are like, be so much easier if I didn't have to go to the grocery store. Groceries and eggs are getting expensive these days, guys. Maybe we just better ascend and cut that grocery bill in half. says, no, we don't do it for that reason or for that purpose, although it certainly has that end result. But no, because when you ascend, also, like, you really change your entire value system and everybody who you hang out with and your whole entire way of relating to the world. And there's really almost no one to relate to in the world right now. It's a very you would be quite isolated if you did it here now. So what would happen is, like, you would kind of like pop out of existence because you'd be the only one, and you need to have a band. So, like, I'm used to I'm like, I am my own band. I'm very used to being that way. I'll be the first person on the dance floor. I have no problems just singing or making my own music. But I always do that with the intention of, like, let's, you know, find and to create rapports. But I also want, as I'm starting to say that, I also want you to know that, like, there's not a need, there's not a requirement. So I'm as part of my personality characteristics, excited to collaborate with others and excited to explore what it is like to connect with other aspects of divinity, exploring themselves, but not requiring it. So, because I'm giving you a bunch of confusing information. You're like, Aurora, like, do you need to have enough people in a quorum, or do you not? Like, do I play on my own in the garage, or do I play with a band? Like, what do I do here? What's my expectation? Because on the one hand, I want you to feel complete. I want you to feel totally like you are enough, and like you're not searching for your missing half or waiting until you can finally find that, whatever person or what missing thing to fulfill you so that you can finally get going. I want you to feel that you're that complete, even to the point of being like your own planet and your own microclimate. But then I also want you to know that it's very, very joyful to connect with other perspectives, aspects of self, individuals, and to form these groupings. And that it is some of the most fulfilling, most deepest, and best stuff you can possibly do. So you're complete on your own, but it even magnifies exponentially what you're able to do when you can get together with a very select group of other great people. And that's a big part of what this ascension process is or was in Atlantis. The sense of each person going through the refinery of consciousness until they are ready to be able to do this type of thing. And that some of that is a paring away or a focusing away from personality characteristics that are not eternal. We didn't have huge levels of pathogenesis pre-invasion, but here you've got huge levels of pathogenesis. So back then it would have been like, imagine like when you're tuning a violin, there's like the major pegs for tuning and then the tiny, tiny little pegs that you use for making micro tunings and making it just absolutely perfect. That's what our lives were like in ancient Concurrent Atlantis. Not huge, huge shifts that had to happen in terms of completely redefining your personality and, taking all this away and then putting all this in a different direction, but just really like micro tunings to hone you into who you really are. And so, yeah, you could think of all sorts of different allegories, like being a dancer or being a super athlete. When you have a coach or someone who is like one of these, ballet teachers who teaches you, like, to hold your body just so, or to do your accuracy of your sport in just the right way so that you really meet all of your goals. So it's that level of really perfecting yourself, and then you get as perfect as you can be while being in that form, and they get to the next level, and then at the next level you realize, oh, you still actually have a huge amount to learn, a huge amount of perfection to learn, but that is not something to be castigated for or harmed in some way. It really is meant to say, like, hooray, like when you graduate from first or second grade, it's like you did your lessons correctly, but then there's always something more to learn, and these are cumulative lessons, just like math. One thing fits on top of the other, and then the more that you fit on top, then at a certain point you're going to be like, that there's even always going to be more. That means more for you to learn about yourself, more for you to learn about what it is to be divine and what it is to be alive and in the world. and then more joyful expansion. And that's turtles all the way up. Like you are really joyful in your ability to continually learn and continually grow. So this is difficult because the human perspective on culture and God as it presently is that like God is omniscient, and also the religious stuff about Christ is about like Christ being infallible and omniscient. It is hard to rectify those identities and expectations, of course, from like childhood, your children, childhood innocence, of expectation of what we want these levels of being to be, for me to then tell you in your maturation process now that it's like, well, they don't.
What happens when
To mute yourself, that's terrible. No, very wrong. Don't do that again. You must, I'm sorry, because it totally throws me off my game. I'm like, who am I? What is going on? Back to the sense of, can Christ be flawed? Where is Christ? How could all this bad stuff on our planet have happened? How could bad stuff have happened in ancient concurrent Atlantis? And how could bad stuff happen here in this time and place? And on the other side of the bad stuff, here's what's going to happen. You guys are going to kick ass. And you're going to totally break free of your consciousness prison, in spite of being starved of light, in spite of being like, poisoned with all sorts of different technological micro blah, blah, blahs and things that are all around here. You will achieve your goals no matter what. And none of this is acceptable to stress test the universe or the cosmic infrastructure in this way. But it is inevitable. When you're going to ascend, it's inevitable. No one can stop it. It is the force of inevitability. And even if you put a supposedly immovable object in front of your inevitability force, you will still get to where you need to be, even if you have to lasagna your way through those apparent obstacles. And that is exactly what you're proving and living the truth of that with your life. But on the other side of that, what will you find? And I think that you're going to, because I'm in the miasma with you, so I don't know exactly what happens when the fog clears. Some big questions. Is there anybody out there? Are there benevolent, divine space races? There used to be a beautiful telepathic network separate from my Aurora Collective, which is like a band that is traveling. So imagine like there's a highway system, that's God's brain. And then my Aurora Collective is a bus on the highway system, traveling around, doing stuff, right? But the highway system and the bus are actually separate and distinct from the telepathic network of natural love-based, telepathic consciousnesses that we know as Christ consciousness. And Christ consciousness has been very much blocked out from our connection here for the past 5 years through a variety of things, not only particulates and the blocking of optical light in this world, but also very much the frequencies that have been emitted. When I say when you break out of this prison, your light body is made out of frequencies, and this world has been inundated with harmful and corrosive frequencies that are anti-light body. They are disruptive to the creation of this beautiful, perfect egg of integrity around you. And it is difficult for you to come into maturity with those frequencies present. And that is the motivation for why those frequencies are present. They are not here accidentally. You're like, no, duh, Aurora. That's correct. They are not here accidentally. They're here very, very much on purpose, by deployed by levels of consciousness that are antithetical to ascension. So basically anything that would like to keep you in a suppressed state, or in a state where you can be easily consumed or preyed upon, or here's another key point, where you are distanced from the knowledge of your power. So you have these powers of observership, you have these powers of manifestation and of giving birth. Again, not only in terms of your reproduction, but like, every single one of us has cells that are making new cells every day. You're literally giving birth to yourself of tomorrow or the next moment in each moment as your cells are dividing and you're creating and you're like proliferating forward. You're making yourself, you're making yourself, you're making yourself. You're giving birth to yourself with observership. Every place you look with the ovens of your eyes, you are making reality, making reality, making reality. And if you don't know it, then you're going around making yourself and making reality, but not consciously and not enough to be able to claim it and not enough to be able to then also claim responsibility for it. So as you're coming into ascension, this is also your self-recognition or remembrance of yourself as God and reconstruction of your personality or sense of personhood in light of the fact that you are God. Spoiler alert, you're God. But you're on the journey of remembering that you're God. And you have to say, like, as you achieve that moment of attainment, get to that I am God moment, it's like you just got the job. And then when you look around the world and you might see, like, there's a lot of garbage here. Because people are always like, where's God? Like, oh my God, how can this happen? How can God let this happen? And like when you get to the moment of being God, the people are going to try to blame you for all the stuff that already happened. You have to be like this is my first day. I literally just got here, okay, but not as an excuse. And then to be able to say, well, okay, from this is the starting point. This is what you're coming into. This is the context that you're starting with. And then how to clean up, clear things, rebalance things, rebuild, and rectify things moving forward. That's the appropriate way to do this. You don't have to take responsibility for everything that came before you. When people messed things up, or some other forces were here, or things were different, or things were not adequate, or no one was present. That's it. You don't have to take responsibility for that. But as soon as you come into your self-knowledge and your empowerment, you're like, wait a minute, self-knowledge, empowerment, I got to do something. Then you start from that moment where you are. And also, if you are starting to see, like I have seen in my experience here, something that is faltering, something that's a coworker or an aspect of reality structure that's not doing its job, yeah, you are not required, but there's the option of rising to the occasion and choosing to do what needs to be done. So many times I've felt that actually in my earthly presence here. And I want you to know, like, of course, I'm an artist and a musician, and this is, and I'm a teacher. These are my things that I do, professionally in the world. But I want you to know I've had a variety of experiences. So I've worked in all sorts of different workplaces. It's important for me to tell you that so that you don't think that I'm totally disconnected from the human experience and from things that you have experienced. And so I can relate to your experiences in retail stores, in offices, in different places where you are. So yes, I've had many experiences where I felt like my coworkers were not doing their full jobs. And so what do I do if I'm in that experience? Instead of being like, harumph, like this electrical cord isn't getting coiled up properly and that guy's not doing his job, then you know what? Instead of harumphing about it, I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to coil that thing up. And I want you to know it is not about the earthly boss. It doesn't matter whether the store owner sees you do that and then says, good on you, or here's a raise or something like that. Cosmic infrastructure sees and notices what you have done. And there is no way to avoid that level of notice. So if you junk the place up and throw things in the utility closet without taking care of them properly, you are noticed. Your behavior is duly noted. And then also, even if it's not your job and you see someone else hasn't done their thing and you choose to rise to the occasion and do more than is your job, it is definitely noted. And this is how I have evolved and grown into greater positions of responsibility through all of my whatever we call forms of being, both here in this physical world, in the human business world, in my levels of interpersonal caring for others, and also on the larger galactic levels. So yes, I have stepped forward even in my levels of naivete. So even I call you guys children, let's just say it's not like your chronological age. It's about like how much you know. So when I first came here as Aurora, I was definitely a child. I was like, I did not know anything. And this is my SpongeBob face. There were a lot of things I did not know. And I made wonderful mistakes from not knowing, but also I gained more responsibility by being like, oh, like I'm going to learn. I'm going to try. I'm going to figure things out. That is sacred and good. And so when we think about what it is to become God, you don't have to know everything, although you definitely do get a widely expansive perspective on everything so that you know what to do a lot more. But you don't have to be like, okay, I know exactly a whole list of things that in my laundry list of things to do as God, like do this, do this, do this. You actually don't have to know all of those things, but you have to have these qualities of trying, not definitely like rising to the occasion, not avoiding responsibility, but taking responsibility and even learning and growing or augmenting yourself so that you can do more when you see a situation warrants it, and not putting the responsibility on someone else or expecting someone else to do it. And also, it sets you free from anger when you don't have to be so mad at someone for not doing their job or not cleaning up the utility closet as they should. Like, no, I do it. And that way I don't have to be angry. So look at the world. In the world, there's a huge disarrangement in the money system. And that is related to disarrangements in levels of your nation states and who runs things. And really, money and government are both things about mind and behavioral control. And so then we're going into the disarrangement of the utility closet of your genetics. And when you find that, you're like, somebody definitely did not organize this space well at all, right? Like there's all these diseases, and then there's these tendencies towards chronological aging and decrepitude and a lot of other stuff that is not well organized. So instead of being like harumph, you definitely should within your own body. This is the aspect of what I really came here to share with humanity. Flying rainbow lasagna is your ability to or reorganize yourself on a deep inner level and basically not even just restore the factory settings and the patterns that you had in the past or in other concurrent places, but to completely write new things that are needed in response to your present levels of difficulty, where, let's say, the immune system, the spiritual immune system, must learn to block out certain pathogens. In ancient concurrent Atlantis, here's our planet, and our planet is nice and clean and beautiful. But you know what? Mars is garbage. Tiamat, garbage. And lots of other places, very garbage. And we had a good life. And you can do that. This is like living in a good neighborhood, right? A gated community. Like, oh yeah, we live in the good neighborhood over here, but don't go over there. They are garbage, not good people. And yeah, the dangerous maybe even, and unpleasant. And then there goes the neighborhood. What happens if they move into your planet? There goes the neighborhood. And so what you learn in planetary ascension, both concurrent in Atlantis and here, is that can't just be like, well, I'm just going to have a gated community or I'm just going to do my own spiritual bubble. La, 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 just doing me and not responding to garbage or responding to pathogenesis or responding to the disarranged utility closet of the entire genetic code across all time. And you're like, Aurora, you're making me do a lot of very hard things because now you're telling me to personally ascend. I have to completely rewrite and fix and ameliorate the entire genetic code across all time and across all multiple parallel dimensions and realities. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's all you have to do. So it's not very much, and I'm sure you'll do great. Of course, it's a huge job. And I want you to know you don't have to do it in one day. You don't have to do it in 1 minute. You don't have to know everything about it, and you don't have to do it alone. That is part of what is the music that the band plays. What is the reality structure that we want to create? I want us to create that reality structure. And I also want you to know that we don't have to rely upon or get permission from some other worldly group or someone else somewhere or something, how would I say, magical fairy dust, magical technology, magical this, magical that. You have everything inside of you to be able to do this. You actually do not need resources or something from somewhere, someone else. But what you do need to do is clear away this technological crapola that has come into this world through these various different, ways that I've described it from lesson 17 and lesson 18. But those are the things that have gone into the biology of these bodies that are at this point making it very, very difficult for you to accelerate and claim your observership. So there must be a rectification of those towers didn't erect themselves, those fibers didn't create themselves, these metamaterials didn't just magically put themselves into needles and then jump into people's arms subcutaneously. Like, these things were done by embodied people who have lived as your community members. That must be addressed. And so just like you had, there goes the neighborhood, bad garbage came from Mars, you also are dealing with the garbage that's in your world as a result of that. And then when you attain yourself as God, like, this place is screwed up. Look at all this garbage. It means matter out of place, energy out of place, consciousness out of place. Like, literally, what is garbage? Garbage is something that's in the wrong place. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. Even if you like have a banana peel or something like that, like, it's garbage, but like, put it in the garden, it will decompose and help your rose bushes really bloom. Putting things where they are supposed to be is really what you do with garbage. And some things where it's supposed to be is non-being, which is entropy. And that's part of how you respond to these things that must be responded to. So in Ascension, you want it to be this beautiful, beautiful birth where you're like, I feel so comfortable. I feel so great. I feel so connected to my friends all across space, time, all of these different, civilizations throughout the cosmos. And they're all like lovingly watching our planet and being like, look at them, like, they're achieving something and they're doing something. Like, that's what we want. But that is not what we're experiencing. And in all honesty, again, so I won't say that I know 100% for sure, but I think that we have to. But what I'm doing is preparing myself and preparing all of you for the expectation of, like, when you actually get to these levels of attainment and come out the other side, really having fought what they say by the skin of your teeth. Like, you barely made it out. Like, you could have lost your souls. You could have lost everything, could have completely like slid down an ice sheet into, one of those glacial crevasses and never been seen or heard from again. Like, that could have been your whole entire civilization. It could have been bad, guys, but that's not what's going to happen. But when you see that, like, wow, like, that was really a profound level of peril on the soul level for each one of you and for this whole entire planet. And you made it through that. And you did it also from a position of immaturity. So when I say that you are children, what I'm trying to say is you still have an enormous amount of education and personal growth and maturation to go through. So this is not meant to be condescending at all, but it is meant to say, like, a huge amount is being asked of you at a very early stage of your development. And you must do it because you cannot count on your coworkers. And don't be afraid or concerned, because you really are made by a super genius who is named God. Spoiler alert, who is God, who imbued you and really gave you on a deep inner level all of the resources that you would need to be able to do this, including like a resource maker. I didn't want to say machine, apparatus. That's you. That is what you are. You make stuff happen and you make stuff. And people just don't know how much they are making stuff happen and making stuff. And don't outsource your power to something else, saying it is actually the one making stuff or making things happen. And I think that that's some of the limited and corrosive aspects of cultural programming here in what it is to be a moral and a good person in human religion. It is often the outsourcing of power to an externalized God, and then to create subservience to that externalized authority. And right now, of course, we are in the sing the song age of Aquarius, where it is about the age of responsibility. You have to take responsibility for all that you're doing. So in order to get to these higher levels, to get promoted, when you get promoted, it's like human resources calls you in and is like, I've been watching you and you've been doing a good job, and you organized the utility closet even when you didn't really have to. You get the stamp of approval and you can do more stuff because you did a good job. And that empowerment, it comes on an inner level, and there is no way for anyone to take it away from you. It is actually not given systemically. So in the world of government or the police or whatever, any of these external authority figures, like they give you a badge, they give you a something, they give you a golden crown, and they're like, yep, like you're official now. But this is not any type of a ceremony or an endowment that comes from the human level. And similarly, it cannot be taken away from you, which that's what the diamond body really is about, an attainment that cannot be taken away from you, and that is granted through, you have earned it. There's no way to hack the system. Hey, someone's coming over here. We need to stop for class for a moment and get serious. Come here, Cheeky, and say hi and give someone some foods. So not enough to me. Cheeky's hiding back there in the there you go. Come on over. Come on over, because everybody loves you. We all want to say hi. Get a small hug, and then there will be a break, everyone. A small hug, and there will be a break, and I'll answer lots of questions. Don't worry. Good job. This is what we need. I tell Cheeky, everybody on the internet loves her. She needs to hear it. Cheeky, everyone on the internet loves you. Good job. Okay, we'll take like a 2-minute break, a brief little break, everyone. Thank you very much for understanding, so that way I can give someone some FROD. All right, we can all have some if you want some. Brief break. Thank you very much for everybody who was patient for us waiting for that. Oh, this is a beautiful comment. I'm just going through some comments to be able to talk about this. Suzuka says, you look nice today, Aurora. I think you might be age reversing. Well, thank you very much for that. And yes, I am. And I'm continually doing that. And I also will say that I was able to access, my friend got one of these, Iba Vita is the name of what it is called. So, I work with those purple crystals, and they're made by the Iba Wellness Company. The same company makes this type of thing that is kind of like, it charges you up. It gives you energy of vitality. It's quite extraordinary. So my friend and neighbor, where I do the co-gardening, has one of those and uses it for her health. And she makes it available to me and Cheeky. So before class, I went over there, I took care of the garden, I got all charged up. So thank you for noticing that. And so part of it is through, using different healing apparatuses and different energy. I also, because I'm like getting energy from the sun, from different crystalline apparatuses. It's very energetic and what's the word, sustaining to me to be in my garden over there. Because I say this to you guys in lasagna group, our Tuesday dance class all the time. Like when you come out of the dance, to put your energy into like watering your garden and, hugging your dog and all these things. Because when you need energy, they will give energy back to you. So yeah, the garden that I have over there with this lovely neighbor, it is totally like glowing. It's so green. It's so healthy. There's so much energy there. And I go there and I kind of like sit amidst all of the plants and kind of get that energy all around me. This is a big part of what it is to cultivate the light body. So of course, in ancient concurrent Atlantis, you would be walking around, every place would be your garden, and every place you walked, you would be just totally bathed in all of this sustaining energy, the antithesis of corrosive energy, and all these things that would accelerate you and make you feel more blissful and more hopeful and more like life is worth living and more celebratory. Cheeky's playing with her toy right now. Like she loves it. Cheeky gets totally jazzed up on all this energy that, like makes you feel like you want to jump out of bed and like whatever, jump up and down or something like that. So in our world, because there's so many things that are the literal antithesis of that, we have to really consciously create these oases and then go into them very, very intentionally. So that's also here in my home. You guys can always see, like I have houseplants back there, and also here where I have all of my electronic stuff. I have lots of plants growing because the plants and their energy field, it really does help to feed and sustain me, even while I'm doing all the stuff that's like computer stuff or touching electronics and things like that. So I just have to encourage everyone, growing plants and being in their energy field is a huge part of cultivating your light body. If you want to know what are some affordable behavioral things that you can do that. And if you're in a small space, like my home here is not very large, it's a small apartment, but you're always going to have like a windowsill, or there's going to be a little place, or you can do sprouting in jars, like for sprouting alfalfa or broccoli is really one of the best things to sprout, or making little trays of microgreens to be able to grow on the windowsill. Like these are really, really important things to do. And then how do you receive or access the energy from these things? So like you connect your energy field, which is your beautiful egg of energy and your figure 8 toroids that are going around you, to the other energy fields when you sit with them and when you connect with them. So connect is the only word I have for them. So yeah, like, if you grow like a little flat of broccoli sprouts or whatever, of course, like you can touch the surface of the little sprouts and receive that energy. But you can also, you get it from like your eyes, you get it from like how you absorb it and drink it in. So you must create these beautiful sources of energy and then drink it in, because again, we're supposed to live in a beautiful garden and have lots and lots of birth affirmative energy flowing to us, and we haven't had that. So we have to make these beautiful things, and also sharing them with others. My neighbor is wonderfully generous, or we have a very good, a positive thing that is good for both of us, in that she's got a large yard and I don't, and she's generous to allow me to grow stuff there, but also she benefits from it too. So we have to look at that in every single way. It's an expression, the plant energy that comes into us, and also we energize each other with these expressions of generosity and care. And it's not always about a transaction of financial currency. Sometimes it is about sharing in some way like that. So Diane is agreeing. Thank you for that. Oh, and I'm not sure, JL. Oh, good to see you, and thank you for being here today. I'm not sure what you were referring to, because of course it was at 2:31. But yeah, I get it, what you're saying there. Okay, so let me reconnect with what I was talking about. What is it to be in a telepathic society? So in ancient concurrent Atlantis, of course, all of us were or are telepathic, and then the sense of moving into this reality creating conglomerate was a very seamless integration. But you're in this world right now where it is not a naturally telepathic situation, and you might not know like what's on the other side of this. And of course, like when in good times, let's say in finer times, in more civilized times, what Atlantis was like before we were invaded or are about to be invaded, we were, of course, cosmopolitan and very connected to the rest of consciousness everywhere. So like here, like, you've got a phone or the ability to connect with people all across the world. Or if you live in some community like New York City, you're cosmopolitan. You have access to all of the reading material, like magazines from all over the world, food from all over the world. People come from all over the world. It's a lot of cultures coming together. That's what we were able to experience with our minds. So what we are trying to restore, but in a better way than it originally was created, is our telepathic connection, and how we can talk to ourselves on the time phone of this pineal gland and this inner eye. How can we talk to ourselves across time to be able to encourage and mutually enrich one another? And we haven't been able to do that in this level of reality for a very long amount of time. And then what was supposed to be an amazing unfoldment in 2020, as our senses were supposed to reawaken. And what you're supposed to do is first, like, you start to talk with plants and animals in your own neighborhood, and then you start to talk with other telepathically connected people. And then you start to be like, oh, like I'm really talking with people. I'm really talking with plants and animals. We're really forming a mental community. And then you develop a sense of rapport, and you're living your lives in parallel, but you are organized and complementary to the things that other people are doing. So this is, of course, very, very different than any kind of Borg-like hive mind, or I want to say like robotic, automated, when you're forced to walk in lockstep. None of that is what it is because it happens in a state of total freedom. So I often use the expression of like when you see a flock of birds, alight from a tree, and they fly off, and they're not flying in a perfect grid pattern at all, but they are self-organized. And sometimes those whatever the groups of starlings that fly and they have these beautiful fluid patterns, like they're not a grid-like pattern, but it is self-organization, and it happens in levels of pure freedom. So that is what the crystals in your pineal gland are supposed to act like. They're all, let me grab my crystal and I'll demonstrate this for you. They're not this big. They're much smaller, but imagine that they're similar to this. And like, this is like the ballerinas, can kind of see it against the dark background there. The ballerina's tip of her shoe, and you must have your crystals up on their tippy toes, and then also, pirouetting around, all right, so that they're spinning around. And you have many of these, like all of these beautiful, fantastic sparkles that are in this little tiny organ of your mind. And they're all balanced and spinning around and perfectly organized and orchestrated. And that is the microcosm of what each one of you is to do in reality, as you are meant to connect with blades of grass, beautiful birds, other humanoids like yourself, but also dogs and, horses and even whales or something like that. So you would never swim to the bottom of the ocean. In fact, actually, the sense of doing that actually really distresses me. I'm like, no, don't go under the bottom of the ocean. Like, this is not safe. But stay where it's nice and dry. If you want to talk to a whale, like you do not have to be 1 foot away from its brain to be able to talk to it. Like, stay on the beach where it is safe and talk to it under the water. Like, this is what sensible people do. And whatever, maybe you think it's sensible to put on a wetsuit and like all of that gear and like risk your life to go all the way under the ocean. I'm like, no, don't do that. You become non-local. Maybe hydrate also. You become capable of being able to talk to things or people you're far away from you. Like at first, you might practice talking to whales or dolphins that are underneath the surface of the ocean. Then you'll practice talking to someone who might live whatever on a far distant planet or in a far distant time. And these are all different types of muscle fibers that you build for your mind. So your insight or your pineal gland or your eye of pure time has different type of muscle fibers. Like in your body, you've got some muscle fibers that are made for like fast twitch doing stuff like sprinters muscles. You've got different types of muscle fibers that are about running for 26 miles, marathon muscles. You've got some muscles in your body that are about stretching and being long and flexible. And you've got some muscles in your body that are about like contracting and being tight and holding everything together. And everything inside of you is really a positive balance of these different qualities, right? So you must do the same thing with your mind. You must balance these different qualities, the ability to far speak or project your mind very, very far away, either in space or time. But as like having long vision, good being able to see something from very, very far away with great focus and accuracy. But also you need to be able to see things that are really close up. That's the telescope into a microscope. And you would do that when you are in this level of your self-development for aspects of self-reflection, archaeological digging, and self-construction. And that means that is how you learn about yourself, that you take your tendril of attention and put it deep into the cells of your own body so that you can look at your DNA and so that you can read the books of who you are and so that you can look into your different body processes, so that you can look at your metabolism as your body is functioning. And this is what's on the other side of what we're doing. Like the class today is curriculum, flying rainbow lasagna and beyond. What's the beyond? Like the Bed Bath and Beyond. What's the beyond? It's the extra stuff. So when you are cultivating yourself to these levels, like you would not want to have a doctor. You would not want to have a someone else. Definitely not a doctor who's going to cut you open. I'm sorry, anybody who's in the medical profession. I don't know if anybody like that is in my class. So where am I coming from with all of this? Like you will begin to consider that, like as I talk about the world of like ancient Egypt and their levels of advanced civilization, that would be like, no, like we do not cut bodies open in order to make them better. So also it's somewhat ridiculous to be able to ask someone else about what is going on inside of your own body. Like I want to say like, duh, like you got to learn what's going on inside of your own body, but I don't want to actually condescend to you because in this world, that is what is normal, that you're supposed to be like, no, never. I have to use this as my Aurora example. So on the Q-tip box, I don't know if it's still there, but on the Q-tip box, it used to say, do not insert this into your ear canal. Consult a medical professional. And it's like, they don't even want you to clean your own earwax in this world. Like, you're not supposed to do anything yourself. You're supposed to be completely like, go to the ear doctor. They will do that for you. Like, go to the tooth doctor. They will do that for you. Go to the elbow doctor. They will do that for you. Like, this is like clearly commodification of all this type of care or whatever. And it's hugely disempowering. And so, yeah, no, you should know what earwax is, know your own level of earwax production, and feel comfortable about cleaning out your own ears. So yeah, you live in this coming out of this very disempowering time where they attempted to disassociate you very much from your own body and your own body processes. And this is part of the culture of domestication, because this also includes like when you're supposed to disassociate from your natural body processes, like when you go to school and you learn like you can't just go to the bathroom anytime you need to. I'm not talking about diapering, like you have to learn to control yourself, but like, when you learn in school, like you have to like wait until the bell rings and then you can do what you need to do. And none of that is healthy on your body. And then also what adults learn is like, oh, like I gotta get to work on time. So I don't have time to really be able to, use the bathroom and do all the things I need to do. Like, no, just like grab coffee and a bagel and get to work and everything like that. Like this whole world has been very disassociated from not only the correct acts and the art form of eating and ingesting food, but also the correct aspects of bodily digestion and, of course, elimination, that you should be able to do your body processes when you need to do that. So you follow your hunger and thirst cues, follow your other cues for your body. These are basic aspects of it. So you've been taught to be running according to a clock and a schedule that's not comfortable for you, and also domesticated where someone else is just going to look after your body and they're going to do a very mediocre to poor job, and they're just going to throw the electrical cord in the utility closet and not really care about whether it's coiled up perfectly. But for you, it's your body, and your body is your vehicle for being able to carry your consciousness forward in ascension. It matters a lot. So also a big recalibration as you guys have become students of this class, that it's no longer the expectation of like, your body's just your car, and one day you're going to get a new car, which is also a very, not just American, but industrialized way of looking at cars. Because it used to be like, you got a car and you could drive it for whatever, many decades. But in the world that I'm familiar with, in this level of community, most people get their car and they switch it out in 10 years. Like maybe people don't even keep their car for 10 years. Maybe they keep it for 5 years. And I'm always continually, surprised and, whatever. I'm shocked about that. But people do that, and it's just kind of like normal for them. But it's just like the sense of incarnation, reincarnation, constantly getting new cars. It's like your kid spills a milkshake, like time to get a new car. I was like, you can just get a upholstery cleaner. You don't have to get a whole new car. So there's a little bit of that, I guess, wastefulness and a little bit of entitlement going on there. So I'm a little bit judgmental in what I say, but it feels fair because I want to imbue to you the sense that your body is this amazing opportunity, gift, and also not an antique, because it doesn't sound very nice to call people antiques, but like object of great value. And you're not like who put all of this stupid varnish on this Stradivarius? Like let's sand it off and polyurethane it. Like you don't do that. Don't do that. You're like, no, this is a beautiful, beautiful long-term apparatus that will go for a long time. So you should look at your body as a beautiful long-term apparatus that will go for a long time because it can be regenerated. So thank you for noticing, like I do regenerate my body quite effectively. And this is also part of what I come to share with you, because it would be very easy if I was in a higher dimensional state and I was like, part of the graduating class and I was like talking to you guys, working hard, doing your studies, trying to get your diploma. They're just like, just regenerate your bodies. Be like, Aurora, like it's actually very hard. And also they keep frying us with all these telecommunication signals and everything like that. So I have to be here and be like, okay, well, like, here's how you do it, right? So I'm giving you these rhythms and these melodies and these templates. And then it's absolutely up to you to internalize them and make them your own, because each person's DNA is unique. So there's not only one path to be able to go forward and reach these levels of success or spiritual attainment. Each person must create and generate their own pathway and their own unique journey. And that's actually, it's an incredibly strong system through those levels of uniqueness, because it can't be hacked, because it's so complex and it's so different for each person. So just like I've talked about, crops that are like bananas and potatoes are grown through cuttings, and they are, what to say, unanimous, homogeneous. They're all the same. And that means that if there's a blight that comes through and it hurts one of them, it hurts all of them, because they're essentially all just cuttings of the same plant. So it's a very, very vulnerable, weak system, and people have found that out many times. So the diversity is the word that I'm looking for, that comes from the variety in nature. When you have seeds that are created, like when I grow my garden, all of the seeds that are created for the next year, they don't all grow the same. Like some of them have purple stems, some of them have green stems, some of them grow tall, some of them grow short, some of them have like many, many fingers on their leaves, and some of them just have like 4 fingers on their leaves. You want that. You want that because that level of variety makes it stronger and more pathogen resistant. So each one of you, take the way that I do my lasagna and the concept of what I'm bringing forward, and then apply it to your own life. And that's also a big aspect of the diploma receiving process, that you are learning and demonstrating how much you have grown through your ability to basically transcend the limitations of what held back all of these other classes, or all of these other opportunities, or all these other things that couldn't happen but needed to happen. And then when you're able to, you solve this problem, and then you're able to do things that couldn't have been done otherwise. So I talk about the foundation of math, truth, or the architecture of the cosmos as being incomplete and not fully adequate. When you solve this consideration for yourself, or find your pathway, you are literally adding a rule to the completion of the cosmic infrastructure. And that is a wonderful personal attainment, and also a contribution to the overarching fabric of all consciousness and all reality. And it's also a way of being able to say, like, look, like this electron did it, this electron did it, this electron did it. Like you make it happen so many times, even though it's so unlikely that it happens all the time. So what am I talking about with the electron? When a photon comes onto the leaf, take my Path of Light class. I promise I'll make the link this time. It has to find its way. Once the photon comes into the leaf and it gets to a chloroplast, it has to get to this little energy center that's in the chloroplast. And there are actually all of these different pathways that it can take to get there, but it only has a certain amount of gas. Limited amount of gas to be able to get to its destination. It cannot run out of gas. It must get to its destination. And if it goes in the wrong direction, it'll get kind of like stuck in, like stuck in translation. And 100% of the time, it makes it there. The electron makes it there. And I know I said at first photon, that I changed to electron. The photon gets transformed into an electron that then gets this little electrical power center in the leaf. And the electron's path in photosynthesis across the leaf, you can watch science videos if you want to about it someday, whatever, if you're trying to fall asleep at night or something like that. Amazing, miraculous calculations that are happening in every single leaf, pointing to this plant right behind me here. And it always happens inevitably. And there are so many unlikelihoods, so many paths where the electron doesn't make it there and it poops out. That is the level of divine perfection that we are living within. And that is also reflected in your own personal journey of reaching these moments of attainment. And those moments of attainment, like when you get there, you're like, okay, of all these different possible quantum combinations, I managed to make the right combination and kapow, I made it there. And you're like, I'm God. And then what happens? Like, do you think like you just poop out of existence? Like, where'd that guy go? Oh, he realized he was God and now he's gone. Like, it's too bad because we need him around here because this utility closet needs to get reorganized, right? But no, seriously, you don't pop out of existence. And this is also part of the huge reward of having that experience. You then experience existence from the first person, knowing that you are God who is also the creator or inceptor of the entire system. So what a wonderful opportunity it is, kind of like a full circle, like to create the entire system, to create all these elements of the system, to create the mechanics of the system, to create the architecture of the system, to create and do all these different things, but then not just watch it and be like, oh, like, look, all those things are happening in that system, but then to actually be consciously aware while you're in a body in that system, and then you're making stuff happen in that system. So what I'm talking about when we did the giant ball of collective acrobatic music and art embodiment people, and I should describe that more, but the actions of that troupe of Cirque du Soleil cosmic acrobats is what radiates reality outward to the people that are on the ground. So in that level of reality that is very heavenly, there are many different types of organisms, including humans who have graduated. And when you move through time and space, but not in a Planck metal spaceship type of way, the chakras of the body act very much like, you know, the harmonica that you blow into? Similar to that, like as air is passing through the harmonica, it goes over these reeds and it makes these beautiful harmonics, right? When your body and your energy field is in this perfect alignment and you're moving through the solar wind or the divine breath, it makes beautiful harmonics. And the harmonics of one person and another person, as you're starting to come together, make these beautiful, complex musical chords. And each person's gesture is also a music, and all music also has a color and a number associated with it, although our numbers are not the Arabic numerals, but let's say a mathematical equivalent, but not necessarily in your symbology here. So we're beyond alphanumerics in that level of reality, and also beyond verbalized thought, because basically all this stuff is happening like so super duper fast that you do not have time to articulate. So it reminds me very much, if you can imagine any kind of very highly trained athletic team or something like that, where you're busy. I don't know basketball, but maybe you're a basketball player and you have to be coordinating with your team and also calculating where's the ball and also calculating how many steps you have to run before you can receive from your team member and all these things like that. It's a high level flow state of pure internal bliss that is far beyond what your cognitive intellect can do. And this is what, guys, this is why they gave you a cognitive intellect. They're like, let's slow these guys down. They're never going to ascend if we give them these extremely slow mental processes that involve the verbalized, internal voice and also the flapping of the moving mouth parts. Like, this will definitely slow them down. That's the myth that you guys know as the Tower of Babel. They're like, hey, we're going to slow these guys down. They think they're going to build a tower and reach God. No soup for you. Tower of Babel for you. Yes. So you are transcending many different genetic and cultural and other forms of obstacles and inhibitions. So there have been a lot of things. They threw the kitchen sink at you, including modern levels of technology. But when you get to those levels, you've transcended what that is, and you're living art. You really are Stradivarius, and you really are expressing these pure, there's no question, what's the word when there's no question about something, like an unquestionably beautiful, divinely unquestionably beautiful patterns that you're making. Like, I don't know if there's cultural limits, because people would say, like, like, whatever, is the Mona Lisa beautiful? Like, is the painting beautiful? Is the person beautiful? Like, these are tastes and aesthetics that are different across cultures, but then there are some things that you can agree are perfect and beautiful, no matter who you are and no matter where you come from, and even across organisms. Like, would a rock shrimp think that the Mona Lisa is beautiful? Somebody should write a song or some kind of an expository essay about that. And the answer is, probably wouldn't even be able to know or perceive like what our frequencies of our eyes see. These are like incompatible experiences. But even amongst those levels of biological incompatibility, there are certain levels of empirical truths that we think are divine and beautiful. Oh, hold on one moment. Let me just pause for one moment. There are some things that are agreed upon on the level of pure consciousness as being unarguably beautiful and perfect, and those divine perfections flow through various different media that can be, human, anthropomorphic, animal, plant, mineral, or just purely abstract. And the interplay of those different perspectives coming forward in this world where you are. It might be difficult for you to communicate with the rock shrimp and come to a common ground of what is beauty. But in the higher dimensional collective zone, no problem at all. No problem at all, because you're really acting beyond the senses of your biological body and you are getting into your pure light body. And that's why it's important to know that, yes, there will be blue whales and trees and butterflies and microbes there, that's a part of what you're learning. So you're supposed to be learning now how to be telepathic with microbes. You should, and you should do that telescope to microscope into your own body. And you should feel if there are microbes in your body. And then you should begin to cultivate your empowerment so that way you can cleanse or purge or heal what needs to be fixed in your body. And this is all a huge level up from having to go to another person who is supposedly trained in such matters and who uses either tests or apparatuses, technological apparatuses, to peer inside of you to then dictate your reality to you and tell you what is going on inside of you. So very, very different levels of self-perception and self-responsibility. So on the other side of this, your whole entire sense of what is health, what is vitality, and who is responsible for your health and vitality will change and shift. As you are learning about how your body processes work and you're able to see them more internally and able to fine tune the violin of your body, of course, you'll also be watching other organisms do this. You might be good at helping other organisms to do this. So this would be like what it is to be, helping someone with healing or helping a plant with healing. But, there's a fine moralistic line to walk there about how much to relax and allow an organism to care for itself, but how much to have an impact on it. And all of this is very, very different than a doctor dictating your reality to you. So these are two completely different feelings, because I want you to know you don't have to do everything all on your own. You have a balance of self-responsibility and the things that are the exploration of the limits of your own powers, and also help from your community. So this is a very difficult situation, because essentially in your situation right now, you're being asked to come into a level of like almost total self-responsibility and self-empowerment, like not getting a lot of help from outside of you. And self-reliance is great, but sometimes there is help from that which is not outside of you, but that which is greater. And this was a real sticking point. I have wonderful conversations with groups of spiritually minded people that I'm connected to. We were talking about the sense of, like trust in God, an externalized God, feeling like you have to do it all on your own, all of these different types of concepts along those lines. And basically, there is a balance of what you are expected to do and what you need to be able to accomplish. And then let's say the larger currents of time. When we do the lasagna dance or when you do the Merkaba, it's very much a balance between what you are emanating and generating and sending out. You're like, I'm me, like, I want some ice cream. And then also you're in a larger context that certainly wants ice cream for you or wants you to receive your ice cream, but is also balancing a lot of other variables. And we cannot simply be like, okay, this organism over here, you get your ice cream, but we're going to imbalance all of these things over here in order to make those events happen for you. We can't have that. So what you have to do as the larger context self is find some way to be able to mitigate the requirements of all of these musicians in the band. And this is truly what like God, the super genius, is doing. You are God, the super genius. You just have to get to those levels. So it's you when you're in the receptive level of the Merkaba, it's you. Let's say it's things that are greater than your present level of limitation. And it's acceptable and loving or worthy of celebration to say, like, right now, like, you're limited. Just like if I say, like, you're young and you haven't matured yet and you have many things to learn. It's like, hooray, there's so many things you have to learn. When you recognize, like, you're an individual and you're limited, like, you have a limited biology or you have a limited number of dollars in your energy bank account. That's fine. That is fine. And then what happens is you grow beyond those limits. And it's a wonderful, you have rites of passage and milestones and all those types of things. They're like, look, hooray, like you tied your shoes on your own. You did it yourself. Hooray, you transcended limitations. That is great. So yeah, again, we're redefining this narrative of what is God and what is ascension. Can you be God being like, I'm God and I have so much to learn. Like I am just learning what it is as you expand outward and remove those limits incrementally. Yes, you learn and grow, and that this is a process and you're allowed to be and encouraged to be in that journey of unfolding it in that process. So what would I say is you don't have to know everything, of course, in the beginning. And the journey is a huge part of it. Like as you reveal yourself to yourself in increments going forward, but you just admit to your areas of ignorance and your areas of limitation. So when you do the Merkaba or the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, and you're like saying in your receptive pyramid that you're receptive to benevolent, divinely intelligent patterns that are even larger than what you can conceive of. It's like saying, like, your brain is this big and you don't know everything. And one day you will know a lot more. But until the time that you know more, you are very happy to receive information, guidance, nourishment, good stuff from something that is bigger than you. But just always remembering that at a certain point, you are that thing that is bigger than you. So this is just moving beyond the program that is about passivity or waiting or also the externalization of power. Because when I say like bigger or something like that, what I'm really talking about is when you recognize your levels of power, you're really saying you recognize that you're making things happen in the world. But when you make things happen in the world on the accusatory anthropomorphic level, it's like, you're making things happen in the world. You made that happen. And you made that, like, there's a lot of finger pointing that will happen. So I want to prepare you for that. Like I've given you the antidote, the antibodies to that. It's like, I just got here. It's my first day. I will make good things happen. And just recognize like you're kind of integrating or grandfathering in, you're integrating into an ongoing narrative of many, many imperfect things. So this is part of your body too. Your body might be experiencing non-optimal health or things that happened to you in the past that you're still healing from, or whatever it is. You don't have to be like waiting until your body is perfect to ascend. You can be able to recognize that you're in the process of transforming your body towards divine perfection as you have, received or remembered yourself in this moment. And then you're like, oh, look, like there's a lot of things to improve. So your body and reality and the planet, these are all concurrent, ongoing things. So we'll talk a little bit about social things. Let me respond to some of these comments over here. iPhone, I'm not sure who it is, says, during one of my animal communication classes, we spoke to a sloth in Costa Rica. It was so fun. That is awesome. I'm curious what a sloth would say. I've never talked to a sloth. Oh, definitely. Okay, so someone is encouraging me to send them something in the mail. I have very, very pleased to do that. I've just had a lot of things on my mind. Okay, so we will not be simply retreading everything that we did in ancient or concurrent Atlantis, because clearly it was not a fully formed, perfectly impregnable system, and that there were certainly things that went awry that need to be fixed and ameliorated. And then you don't want them to go awry again. You want them to be fixed or healed in a very, very permanent way so that we do not repeat those patterns. And I think that that's some of the most important encouragement that I can bring to you. Each one of us is having to release the trauma and the grief of the loss of that time place in living in this world of mortality and being separated from that beautiful and perfect level of bliss, and even in experiencing an admittedly imperfect experience or expression of your ascension process, to be able to recognize that you will build a new and better way of doing things. What's our new and better way? What was it to be telepathic? So in a telepathic society, I think I've talked about this with you as well. It does not necessarily mean that you can have no manners or that you do not respect boundaries. You must respect boundaries, even more so than you do in this world of physicality. So some of what you've experienced in the world of physicality, these are transferable life skills. Sometimes I talk about non-transferable life skills, the miscalibrated equipment from one place, and then you move to a new job and you're like, now I don't have to do any of that, torturous, convoluted backbending to be able to do my job. Like, it's so much easier now. Drink. But when you are recalibrating towards the perfection of your existence now, you will be able to do things a lot more easily. Hold on, let me just collect my thoughts of which direction I wanted to go with that. I'm not the only person who gets mind wipes, and they're very, very annoying because you know that they're important. We'll come back around. Very, very annoying. Apologies for that. Very sorry. That definitely was an important one, and it will come back around. In Ascension, I talked about three things: what it's like when you're living on the ground, what it's like when you're this kind of floating collective. And then, of course, there is the final thing, which is when you're so together as a group of reality creators and expressors of perfection that you're not only ready to do all of your acrobatics, but you do them without a safety net, and you're also ready to do them even without a stadium. You're just acrobaticing, that is not a word, across the entire galaxy. And it's not necessary to be able to have these, some of these limitations are about working with protection. So, here in my home where I do my dance, I have my puffy mat on the floor, because it's like you have to learn how to do things safely. And that way, these are protections in case you fall, like you just fall on your butt, you don't really like break a bone or something like that. And it's the same thing with some of these limitations. Like, you're learning how to do certain things, and then as you grow and expand, the limitations expand. And some, not all limitations that have been placed on you have been for purposes of self-protection, but in a divinely pristine circumstance that is truthful. Because some of these very evil things that have been harming humanity would say, like, I'm protecting you from yourself for a reason. I'm making sure you don't run with scissors. You're too young. Yoink, I take these scissors away from you. You're not allowed to do this. And there's a lot of that paternalism and very, very corrosive condescension that's been happening. And none of that is correct, because as I talked about in lesson 17 and lesson 18, a lot of that comes from the envy of otherworldly creatures that did not have the same levels of abilities that you did. And they were pretty much like, something? I'm annoyed with how good at everything you are, and I wish I could just see you struggling a little bit. That is really what they felt about our beautiful world on Earth. And then they made it happen. And that is also, that feeling state is the essence of a lot of dark magic in this world. It wasn't just the invaders coming into ancient Atlantis, but those invaders and their sense of, that's what cursing other people is. It kind of is the sense of someone's going to try to shoot a basket and you're like, hope they miss, hope they don't make it. You're not even on the team. You're not even playing on the playing field, but you're just hoping that they're going to miss. It is when you hope that someone becomes ill, or hope that they crash their car, or hope that they destroy themselves in some way that's not actually totally accurate, but hope that they, let's say, whatever, fail at something important that they're trying to do. Because if I say destroy themselves in some way, then you're like, well, wait a minute, Aurora, then I'm in a quandary because I'm not allowed to hope that my enemies will destroy themselves or any of those things like that. You don't have to go into convoluted backbends, because in the claiming of who you are as God, the creator, you also get to be God, the unmaker. And this is a very important position of responsibility. None of this is about immaturity or capriciousness or power abuse, which is why the full recognition of your power comes forward with a lot of, self-responsibility, that you're like, okay, like with lasagna, you are energizing and creating and making things happen. But you know what you're also doing? You're also de-energizing and taking things out of existence and unmaking things that are clearly not in alignment with life and longevity. You already do that in your body. You are the God of your body, saying which microbes get to be inside of you, which do not. And this is your basic right as having an immune system, and saying what pathogens are, what's pathogenic and needs to stay out of you, and what gets to be inside of you. And it's a right. And it's important for you to embody that. And this is beyond a cognitive intellect type of teaching. Like babies come here and learn to have an immune system. No one teaches them on the blackboard. In class, sit down. Today you will learn like lactobacillus. This is your friend. Amoebic dysentery. This is not your friend. Like that is not how you learn. Like you learn from being exposed to the world, which is also why I kind of teach the way I do when I take people out on lasagna flights. Like when we do our dance class together, I'm like, yeah, like I can give you intellectual teaching about it, but it is very different. You really have to go surfing. You have to go in the ocean. You have to feel these things and you feel it. And that is how you build the muscles. And that is you build the muscles of your mind. And that is also how you build your immune system. You guys have been in a very garbage environment. But on the plus side, what that means is that you have definitely built a huge spiritual immune system. When I share some of these things that are my insights with people, sometimes people reply back to me with their own life experiences of dealing with narcissists or narcissistic abuse in their life. And I think that there are a lot of parallels between the narcissist personality characteristics and these pathogens and these putis and these really non-eternal invaders that came into the human genetic code. And that the things that people have done, the struggles that they have faced in their life, each one of you, if you have faced struggles in your life against people whose behavioral characteristics or personality was narcissistic or exploitive or abusive towards you, I think that you've done good work at building your immune system. But also, like when you get exposed to a pathogen, then your body is like, ew, like that's a pathogen, gross, get away. And then also get it out of you so that it's not going to stay in you. And then the key point, the antibody that protects you moving forward, is the ability to sense that same pathogen and move away from it, not to do it again, not to expose yourself to it again. And you get better and better with your long range vision. I wanted to pick this up and go like this. Your long range, your 10's a little bit tension. You get better and better at being able to see these suckers coming and be like, that's that energy frequency. I already know I don't want to have anything to do with it. Let's not experience that. So there are different things you can do. You can move yourself out of its path, move away from it. You can, of course, shield yourself in order to not have interactions with it. And then you can also kind of like do a rejecting or sending away energy, sending it away from you. And these are all appropriate things to do. As each one of us becomes empowered in Christ, like big message of like, if as the miasma clears, you might find maybe all of Christ has been incinerated. And that's not an easy proposal for me to bring to you, because it would be, of course, much more comforting if I said, well, don't worry, you're going through very, very difficult times, but keep going, you'll finish the marathon, and on the other side of this, you'll have a beautiful homecoming with all of your wonderful friends and family of coherent light, and everybody's going to be there. Like whatever, the end of the Wizard of Oz. And she wakes up from her bump on the head and she's like, oh, I had this terrible dream, and you were there, and you were there, and you were there. Like everybody's there, and then hugs. And it might not be that. It really might not be that. And I'm bringing up, silly movies and things like that to kind of break the energy of it. But it's a heavy thing to recognize. Like you are required to come forward, be older and more mature than your actual chronological age, and do a lot of difficult stuff. You'll get hugely rewarded. You'll really be able to be more empowered, and even more empowered than we were in the structure of how Ascension was like in Atlantis. But what you might find, what is likely for you to find, is that everyone who you thought was your community member or your helpers or your guides or whatever, like I think aren't there. I think they've been incinerated. I think they are kaput. I do not know this for certain. So we can say that I can hold forth the possibility that I am limited in what I can see and know, and that there's always something new to learn. So I don't want to make this as a pronouncement of truth, but I have been acting upon that presumption for many years now. And that actually has been positive and empowering. Because instead of going into levels of exasperation, while I watch the world fall into greater and greater levels of degradation and despair, I am instead finding that as soon as I give up, as soon as I release the expectation that it's somebody else's job or one of these civilizations, they're supposed to be just shaking my finger. Somebody is supposed to be doing something somewhere. As soon as I get rid of that, then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to figure out a way to do this. And I'm amazed by my own ability to learn and grow. It's not always spiritual things. Those things I will say, not with like bravado, but they do come to me relatively easily. But other things are a real struggle, that things might involve like learning about computers here, like how to do a software thing or whatever. And instead of being like, somebody else should really do this, I'm like, I will learn how to do this, and I will do the thing that needs to be done. And then I'll be like, oh, cool. Like I did the thing that needed to be done. It is a wonderful feeling to be able to be capable and to become more and more capable. So it is what I wish for all of us through those levels of self-cultivation and increased capability. There's less dependence and bitter expectation on the actions of others. We do want to receive benevolence from others, but what if others aren't there? So now in talking about this, like you're pretty much in a worst case scenario, God prepares us for the worst case scenario. What if the worst case scenario is like everyone who's good gets incinerated? Everyone except our planet. What if that's what happens? What if all of the other mountain climbers who are supposed to help us across these crevasses and everything like that, what if they're not there? How are we going to get out of this? And that is the real soul challenge that we are facing. And we are facing it amazingly well. Each one of you that here in this class, you come here as very noble aspirants to be able to learn and grow from what I'm sharing with you, and then applying it to your life. And you're doing amazingly well. Like you're in a situation that you're not supposed to have to be in. A lot of fail-safe systems failed. A lot of opportunities existed for you to simply sit down by the side of the road and be like, well, that's it. Like this marathon is over. Like I'm giving up. I'm not doing anything. And instead, I see each one of you like continuing to run, continuing to propel yourself through time, continuing to use your efforts of belief and observership to create and optimize your life, and to envision a purging of the non-pristine system so that way you can continue onward without these huge levels of corrosive friction that you've been experiencing up until this time. And all of that is very like brave, noble, and courageous. So please, like, accept that praise. It's very praise and recognition flows to you. It's very, very genuine. And in order, I don't want to say like in order for you to achieve your greatness, like all these other things had to fall, because that would be like some kind of Schadenfreude of appreciating or reveling in the downfall of others. And that's not what it is. It's kind of like you're doing this in spite of lack of resources or in spite of lack of support. I would like to think that the support and resources would be there if they could be. That if these other civilizations could be in existence or could help us, that they would. This is why I'm leaning towards the presumption of that they were eradicated or incinerated or obliterated in some way. It's a difficult message to bring because it could feel hopeless. And I don't want you to feel hopeless. Definitely want you to feel energized and empowered. So I really think that the focus is on finding out what you can do, what is your ability level, finding out ways that you can problem solve, finding out ways that you can grow and expand. When you're God, you can do everything, and that also includes destroying or unmaking stuff that is not supposed to be in existence. And some of this can be stuff like satellites. There's no moral qualms at all. Like, the satellite is a bunch of garbage. Destroy these satellites. Like, they're definitely non-God architecture in the world. But also there might be other things that you would want to send to entropy or destroy. Personality characteristics, organizations, ways of doing things, dynamics. And this is literally what you are poised upon in your world situation right now. A complete rephrasing and recontextualization and restructuring as the things that I call the dead world are destroyed. And they should be destroyed because they are non-viable and they are no longer containers for life. If they ever were containers for life, they're definitely not a container for life right now. So you have to change and shift. And you don't have to continue with and bring with you into the new context the continuity of consciousness of things that you don't wish to have in your world. And this is completely your prerogative. That's the word I was looking for. It is your choice. That is an artistic choice and also a choice about personal boundaries and how you define yourself in the world. That when you claim your identity as God, you walk through your expression being like, I'm God and I'm in my God world and this is amazing. But you'd be like, except for that, that's a bunch of garbage. You're like, I got to get rid of that stuff. Like, I got to clean that up, whatever that is. That's not supposed to be there. And then you innovate and you find the ways to clean it up. If we move out of this miasma and there's some sense of a group that wants to come in and say, well, like, kind of like, you're a ragtag army, like, good job at keeping yourselves alive and fighting off the entire satanic hordes. We're here to take over now. I would say, no, no, I would say, do not do that. Do not agree to that. I do not consent, and I do not consent for this planet. Why? Because you guys are not a ragtag army, but let's say you are not well provisioned. You have very, very limited amounts of light, and you are doing this nonetheless. And other civilizations, places, and groups of organisms, they would probably have a lot more resources and a lot more light available to them. Like, your place is encapsulated with these limitation frequencies, and that has been what has been making it difficult for you to move forward. It's why it's such an unlikelihood, the situation that you're in. But these other civilizations, like, they've got plenty of light. It would be like saying, like, you don't have a lot of money, so it's difficult for you to build your house, but somehow you get creative and find the building supplies and scavenge them around, and you're able to build a house, and it works out pretty well for you. But when you look at, sorry, Cheeky's barked because I think we got a delivery. Sorry, Cheeky, you're okay, girl. Someone who has plenty. Sorry, hold on, because this is too loud. No, Cheeky, hold on, it's too loud. Someone who's got all the building materials that they need, or if they've got an open account at Home Depot and they can buy all of the lumber and all of the sheetrock and all of the everything that you possibly could need, and they are complaining that they can't build their house. And you're like, something, we built our house and we didn't really have everything that we needed, but we did it anyway. Like, what is your excuse? It feels a lot like they would be co-workers in the galaxy that would not be good co-workers, that would not be working towards the overarching abundance of the entire company, which is basically the company of life being alive. And that would be a vulnerability if you're expecting someone else to do their job, either in protecting the cosmic infrastructure or clearing out parasites or preventing harm from coming into the world. And it's much more than just coiling up the electrical cord. It's much more like cosmic law enforcement level stuff, where it's about not allowing evil to flourish. Because, I use all of these euphemisms, but what we're really talking about is evil. And when I talk about Christ and I talk about these higher dimensional benevolence and things like that, everything that you're trying to do is to not just supersede evil, not just like run away from the ghosts. If you're Pac-Man, you don't just want to run away from the ghosts. You want to eat the power dot, and then you want to kill those ghosts. All right. That's what you want to do. You want to eradicate that evil. So, like when I talked about you gain antigens from recognizing the narcissists in your life, and then you're able to spot them from a million miles away. You're like, I know this energy signature and I know it's coming. I don't want to be a part of it. What do? Do you just run away from the ghosts? No. Eat the power dot and become the white blood cell and encapsulate the pathogen and bring it into entropy so that way it's not going to hurt you. And it's also not going to hurt a bunch of other people too. And this is, I would say, the job of the larger civilizations that are beyond this planet. Like it's definitely the job of the older generation to protect the younger generation. And this is a lot of reasons why I am here. I've used euphemisms also, like trying to help the little baby sea turtles, like your hatchlings. You're getting out of your little, sandy, whatever nest, and you're just coming out. And you're like, hi, like I'm new in the world. I don't know anything. And I'm like, watch out. A bunch of seagulls are evil seagulls are going to try to effing eat you. You got to get to the ocean. I'm like, let's help these consciousnesses get to the ocean so you're not going to get eaten. That is very much like when I say, like, I'm a planetary protector, I feel very protective over you guys, because I also I've got a lot of antibodies. I know how this thing works. I know what these energy signatures are. I know what is safe and good and who is not safe and good. And so really the only challenges are your cultural constructs, as I'm trying to always very delicately communicate these things to you without being hugely alienating from your people who have been religiously indoctrinated or through the recognition of your social structures. Like clearly, like I came here over 20 years ago. It's been a long, ongoing cultural conversation for people to be able to have a conversation about the corruption of the Christian church. And all these different things. So, you've gone through all these different cultural shifts. And now with like I told you, like the final level is the adoration of extraterrestrials, like things that aren't from your planet. And remember, I am from your planet, but just from this planet when it was shaped or functioning very, very differently. This is my hood. This is my hometown. And I'm not a carpetbagger, and I am here very much in alignment and protection of this world. And extraterrestrials do not have like a claim or a reason or a validation to be here influencing what's happening in this world. And this gets down to bodily autonomy. Just like I would not presume to influence or dictate what is happening in someone else's body. That's your job. Your body is your planet, right? But of course, like if you needed help, I'd be like, of course, like, would you like some water? Like here, have some water, have some resources, have some things that I have that you need. You can definitely share and support another person. Giving someone food or water is very, very different than trying to regulate their metabolism inside of them. You get it? So like me giving you money or something like that is very, very different than me trying to control your spending habits and tell you how to run an economy and how you're allowed to do things. So you're on the verge right now of what was supposed to be this super evil, great reset, World Economic Forum, you will eat the bugs type of thing, right? That's all been eradicated. That is not going to happen. But that's like saying, okay, great, you did not get the bubonic plague. Hooray. But what are you going to do, like, as a fun and uplifting thing? All right, no plague, but what is the fun and uplifting thing? It's up to each one of you as really divinely connected, true inhabitants of this world to dictate your reality. And so one of the things that these harmful overseers have done has also been to try to make this world so uncomfortable and to give you such a sense of hopelessness that many, many good, innocent people with a huge amount of ability would think it's hopeless. The only thing to do is get the F out of here. That's the only thing. Like, it's so garbage here. All you can do is somehow fly away or jump off, like, whatever, get off of the Titanic. But I would say that's like, get a new car. Somebody spilled a milkshake in this car, get a new car. I'm like, no, upholstery cleaner. And in terms of the garbageness of the planet right now in the neighborhood, upholstery cleaner. And the things that prevent you from using upholstery cleaner are the genetic limitations and cultural limitations that have really been preventing you from being fully empowered. You must explore what are those inner limitations. And it's different for everyone, but these are sometimes about what you think is moral, what you think is right and wrong, what you think is ethical, what you're allowed to do, what you're allowed to think, what are forbidden thoughts. Always look at forbidden thoughts. There's always going to be something really valuable there. The things that you think you're not allowed to do, like things that you think you're not allowed to criticize, or things that you think like, well, if I think this, everyone will say I'm wrong. If I think this, maybe I'll be a bad person and go to hell. If I think this, maybe God will reject me. If I think this, or if I do this, and you test all of those limits and all of those boundaries, and you find out like there were important things for you to do and all those things, those are the genetic limitations that have been placed into humanity to keep humans neutered and declawed, so that way you can't actually tear up the carpet and you'll be good domesticated house cats and slaves. Turn over all of these rocks, look in inner archaeology. When you do your telescope into a microscope, you start to look into all of your inner tendencies, and you look into like, what is it to be a good person? And you start to go through some questing about like, can you watch others be injured? Are you a good person if you just stand there and be like, yep, these people someone's doing something bad over here. I will just stand here and do nothing. Like, no, like you have to coil up the electrical cord. You have to do something. What can you do? Just like be nice to them. Things don't always get solved and fixed by being nice, right? Setting boundaries, and you learn all these different things. And then that it becomes evident that you will at a certain point have to act in a way that might not be celebrated or condoned by the power structures that you fight against. That they will say, like, you're bad, wrong, and evil. Like, you're not allowed to do these things. You're supposed to be a passive slave. Who do you think you are to do this and that? Who do you think you are to do this and that? You might have to do things that are not against your value system, but that are against the false limitations that have been placed inside of you. I always have tried to do things through art and music and beauty and intelligence and excellence. And in dealing with these, like gross things that are pathogenic in the world, like sometimes it has just been necessary to unmake them. And it's not necessary for you to go into torturous convolutions and backbends to try to preserve or give another opportunity or, change them, fix them, heal them, educate them, any of those things. And I want you also to know, like, I've already done all of those efforts. I'm certain that, you can't just be like, to like listen to someone else. You have to go through your own, what is it called? Your own arc, like your own story arc, your own trajectory to learn about all these things. Because I, like you, I'm an innocent, and I'm like, oh, like maybe they don't know that they're making a big mess. Hey man, you're making a big mess over here. Maybe you really can't do that anymore. Okay, here's how you clean things up. Let's do it together. No, you're still making a big mess and not cleaning things up. And I say, I think you're doing this on purpose. You have to stop doing this. This is not okay. And then when they don't listen, then you have to do something. And I'm talking about things that are like bioweapons, that these are not by accident. And we're talking about things that are like these pollutions that go into people's pineal glands, all of these technological assaults. At a certain point, when you, in good faith, come forward and you're like, hey, like, I think you're making frequency soup that is bad for people's bodies and giving them diseases. I think you should stop doing this. And they're like, no, we're going to ignore it and deny it. And you're like, but I told you that you need to stop it. And it really is definitely giving people diseases. Look, like that guy just fell over. clearly this is giving people bad diseases. And you're like, no, I think they're going to keep on going. At a certain point, you can't let that happen in your world. You can't let whatever they call them, like scientists, but they're just like very, very evil people that are intentionally making these concoctions, microbial concoctions in various different labs that if you let that go on would get worse and worse. Like if you think like what happened in 2020 was bad, they would make it like 10 million times worse. It was their intention to make it 10 million times worse. This is what I'm trying to say. You have been dangling perilously with your soul like on a thread, almost gone. Because some of the stuff that they're doing with microbial weapons is meant to destroy DNA and meant to destroy the divine connection. And that all of this is anti-ascension. It's not even just enough to be in a garbage frequency soup, but that they're also creating like tiny, pathogens and things like that that are intentionally created to do this corrosive harm to you. It's not by accident. And at a certain point, you start to see that frequency coming and you're like, that is that frequency. I can't let that happen. You also, as you awaken your light body and you start to be very active up here, you can sense things are going to happen. It's precognition can anticipate the future. And this is also why like excuses and other things like that don't always fly because like you can anticipate the future. So you can't be like, well, I didn't coil up the electrical cord because blah, blah, blah. But you're like, you can see the future. You knew this would be important. Why didn't you do this thing? You do the thing because you can sense on a deep internal level it can be important. So and you guys don't need a lecture because I can tell once I start getting to these your energy gets very bored. You're like, we know this already, Aurora. So I clearly do not have to emphasize that point so much. You are already on the road of responsibility. But for some people or some organisms, they might need to have an extreme amount of prodding to be like, you have to take responsibility to do this thing because otherwise, you pretty much won't have a world, won't have an opportunity anymore. There will not be a rear view mirror for you to retrospect and look in and be like, oh, I really made a bunch of mistakes. I guess I should have done this sooner. That's a lot of hubris and expectation and you might not get. You might not get the second chances that you think you're going to get. That's why precognition exists, so that you can anticipate. You must always trust your intuition. You must always trust the unspoken aspect of your inner self that is guiding you and warning you and telling you, you know something, I think that this is a big deal and I need to do something about it now and not just let this train wreck roll forward and allow it to happen. And then many of you would be like, okay, great, Aurora, I can see something bad is happening, but what do I do? You got to use your mind and your willpower and your ability to write narratives, to create as God, to come forward and to claim your ability to shape reality and to do it in such a way that you are making something more beautiful and more sane and better structured than it ever has been before. It is a tall order, but also I encourage you. I see you as artists in the art school of life, and I am a physical artist, and I'm also an art teacher and a mentor. And I see you guys as having an enormous amount of potential. And what you need to be shown is like this is a paintbrush. Like this is your mind. This is the paintbrush of your mind. And like this is paints. And this is how you do color mixing. And then this is what turpentine is. And then I'm going to be like, great, here's all of your art supplies. Now go and paint something beautiful and fantastic. And that also includes when you have turpentine or when you have an eraser, the capacity to erase the stuff that is garbage. And that is literally what is happening in our world right now. A complete erasure of the external behavioral and mental control systems known as government, including nation states. And this is why they don't like me because I'm a political dissident, but I'm not just against one country. I'm against all these countries. And I've always pretty much been this way because I believe in the age of responsibility, and people doing what is right and not simply doing what is right because of some external control structure. And you understand because many of you just thought like, well, I can do what is right, but all of these pathogenic, evil, and corrupt people cannot have the world that you wish to go into full of pathogenic, evil, and corrupt people. And that is a deep inner not recognition, conclusion, a conclusion that you must come to on a emotional level after you do like communication, education, negotiation, and then you're like, wow, these guys haven't changed, and I can't have them living near me or around me or affecting me. And this is really the separation of consciousnesses, the separation of timelines, and the separation of energy. Do what you need to do in your own body to separate out the energy of these residual pathogens and echoes of stuff like that from your own genetic code. That's the first thing to do. Claim your own planet of who you are. Your name is your planet or your nation state of who you are, and remove from your own genetic structure the unhealthy aspects. That's the first thing. But when you do that, what happens is, you become awakened and you're in your light body, and you don't just have to be like, well, like, great, like I'm totally pure, a piece of beautiful light living in a garbage world. Doesn't work that way, because your light is always going to radiate outward and affect everyone around you. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And then there is conflict as your light highlights the wrongness or inadequacies or bad math of those that are around you in the world. And then you can't just live in a state of constant, total allergic conflict with one another, because those coworkers who don't do their job, they don't like you. They don't coil up the electrical cord, and they're like, yeah, we don't like you because you're doing a good job. You trying to get ahead, you trying to get a good paycheck, you doing better than me, you, any of those things. Jealous and lame losers. And those are the ones who embrace the technology to artificially augment their inner mind muscles. They don't appreciate it when you are righteous and do the right thing, cultivate yourself, act according to the rules, like cosmic rules, and basically show them up by being good and doing good things. And for many years, you might have calibrated to like this type of dualistic, like I said, allergic inflammation on both sides. But this is really a separating out of these two things. And it's not like you're going to say, okay, the good stuff is all going to go over here and live in super magical fantasy land. And then the bad stuff is all going to go over here and live in like hellish nightmare land. No place else exists except for beautiful fantasy land. Hellish nightmare land does not actually exist. So take my path of light class, because then you will actually comprehend this. But I love that there's all this sunlight flooding in over here, because when you are at light speed and when you are on that path of light and in that embodiment state, there is nothing around you that is not moving at light speed. The only things that you're experiencing are that which is moving at light speed, which is everything. And the stuff that is not moving at light speed is no thing, and it is not. So you get into those levels, the words are hard to convey it, but it's what flying rainbow lasagna is, where you have the very, very super fast infinity and beyond levels of pure energy and super fast energizing, and then all of the other stuff that doesn't even exist. So you will not be on a bullet train, whizzing past at light speed the train station where everyone is standing there gawking at you and be like, look at how fast these ascended people are moving. Like, I would say like a hick or whatever, but not in an offensive way, but be like, golly gee, you sure are moving fast. I'm standing here feeling envious and jealous of you being on that, infinite light speed train. And no, there is no one on the train station. There is no train station. There is only you and everyone or everything else that has attained light speed. That is the ultimate in this organizational principle. But in the journey to getting there, it's very, very difficult to get there when there is so much debris to have to move through, debris fields and trauma and unresolved emotions and pathogenic self states. All of those things are what's been slowing you down from being on the infinite train of light speed. So yes, if you just jump to light speed, like hyperspace drive, go, And then you would be not troubled by these pathogenic things, but these pathogenic things, they do need to be resolved. You can't just run away from them and then jump to light speed and then be like, dun, 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 we're done. I think that we really need to address them, address their origins, remove them from existence, and then make it possible to move through time in a completely frictionless, unimpeded way. This is the new thing that we've never done before, because, like I said, in the past, you had Earth as the good neighborhood, but then all these bad neighborhoods that eventually moved in and destroyed the neighborhood over here. What we're going to do is pretty much clean up the whole entire galaxy, because what happened with the Orion Wars and the mushing of the galaxy and stars being moved out of alignment and all of these disharmonics that came into time itself, we are going to clean them all up. And you will have a perfectly organized utility closet. And then you will be able to do all of the wonderful, expansive things that you want to do. So instead of looking at this world and this existence as like some kind of a punishment, a purgatory, unfair, arbitrary imprisonment, or something that we shouldn't be experiencing, let's recontextualize it as, yes, involving aspects of injustice, but making lemons out of the lemonade, making lemonade out of the lemons of being stuck in a garbage place that should be actually very beautiful, and rebeautifying it. And as when you're rebeautifying it, what you're doing is correcting things that needed to be corrected on a deep cosmic level. And then you become avatars or representatives or ambassadors of cosmic justice as you're doing that in the world. So yes, you will change your bodies, and then yes, you will also change your whole entire world. And as artists, don't be afraid to use your eraser, or don't be afraid to use the turpentine, and to be able to wipe out the things that are not life affirming at all. And so then also come out the other side being victorious, wiping out all this evil, pathogenic, gross stuff. And then on the other side, what I think you can expect is simply continued levels of expansion of your own concept of self, removal of your limits, more resources, more doing what you've already done at such a young age, as opposed to some kind of fun cosmic dance party reunion with things that I don't think are actually in existence. So maybe a difficult message. It maybe not feel like super positive, but very honest in what I'm telling you here. Now let's go. I was going to make funny faces. Go back to because I can see there's stuff going on over here. And iPhone says during one of my, oh yeah, there we go. We got it. Okay, got that one, got that one. Suzuka says, I think they aren't there either. I've never felt anyone there. I've not found it beneficial. It's made me really angry. And so when no one is there, you have to take matters into your own hands, like it or not, ready or not. That's the essence of it, Suzuka. And I can very much relate. And so thank you for saying that. And I hope that everybody can relate and drop any pretense. Because sometimes, because there's all this stuff about faith. This is what I mean. Like, there's a lot of judgments that if you're like, I don't think there's anybody out there, and I'm pretty mad that the world got so garbaged up. I can relate. And that doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you've lost your faith. Not at all. It means like, look at the utility closet. This place does not look right at all. Somebody did not do their job. It is essential to recognize that. And there is a desire to not have like blame, but like to have responsibility. And if it were my coworker, I would be like, you didn't do the thing you're actually supposed to do over here. I'm definitely mad and I have some attitude about it. And that would be totally appropriate for you to feel in connecting with higher dimensional entities if they existed. Like if they came in and they were like, dun, 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 now we're here to help you. I think that each one of you should express huge amounts of anger and skepticism, because you should be like, well, how many people got polluted? How many people and animals died? How much did the genetic connected entire fabric of reality get degraded by what happened in our world over the past 5 years? So definitely it would not be enough for something to come in after those 5 years and say, I'm finally here to help. I think that you should have a huge amount of skepticism from that. But I also want you to be able to receive help when it's possible, like help from that which is larger, because there really is divine intelligence. There really is this big giant world of light. There really is a much, much larger world than what you're presently experiencing. But let's also say that there have been a lot of safeguards and protective features that have failed. So think about it in your own body. Like sometimes there are pathogens that get into the actual nuclei of your cells and cause disease. And when that happens, the body is always like, WTF? This is not supposed to happen. Something bad is happening, like phlegm is being produced, the fevers are being produced, everything is not okay. Got to do stuff to get the pathogens out of the body. And so, of course, there's responsibility because the membranes of the body are like, oh, yeah, like we didn't know we needed to keep these pathogens out. But now we have antibodies, antigens to learn to keep those things out. And we will not have this disease again. Earth got pathogens, and Earth hasn't been able to be healthy and well and behave in the way that we should for a very long amount of time. This is that moment, that turning point in the biological structure and in your consciousness cognitive structure where you're like, this isn't me, and it needs to go and it needs to get out of here. And those are, of course, aesthetic and choices that are about your spiritual journey to choose what is and isn't you. No, okay, someone's going to tell me later because they're on their phone and it's too difficult to be able to see. Okay, so let's bring, because I would like to be able to have, like, sometimes the end of the semester I have people have like a little celebration. And what I wrote, just shared with you, maybe does not feel so celebratory, kind of like, blah, not that hooray that you would really want it to be. But I would definitely like to leave you with positive energy and to embolden you to go forward. Lucy says, oh, Lucy likes my dress. Thank you very much. Awesome to see you, Lucy. Yeah, because you know what? It's been a long slog. It's been a very, very long spiritual marathon for each one of you. Oh, Lucy got her clothing. I'm very happy to see that. Yeah, this was as the tariffs were coming through. Awesome. Good. Hope you rock it. Fantastic. Yeah, I was very happy to get my stuff in under the wires, that the last few orders could be appreciated by people. I always tell people, like, I'm trustworthy. I tell the truth. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat stuff for you, because also, like, if it's a 26.2 marathon, I'm not going to tell you at mile 24, like, okay, that's it. Like, you're done. It's like, nope, still have 2.2 miles left to go. Don't stop. Keep going. And so I'm not going to lie to you guys. So that's where I'm at with this. Time to face the final hurdle. And I know that each one of you will gloriously transcend this final obstacle. I've already seen really, really good evidences of that in the different social media that I follow. There have been not only, the different calls for, like, blah, 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 benevolent aliens that most people are like, what, not impressed by and not ready to, key point, do not acquiesce your authority to something else. You can see I tell my voice is tired. And if I can have some attitude too, like, I've been here for 20 years. Like, these guys come in, like, in the last 5 minutes to be like, okay, we're here to take over your planet. Let us run things. I'd be like, hello, like, I have literally been here for 20 years. Like, no, like, do not listen to these guys. They're totally new. Listen to me. But you know me also, I'm not going to take over. I'm not going to be like, taking over your willpower. I'm going to be encouraging you, educating you, giving you great values, and empowering you, not, like, forcing you to walk in lockstep in the way that you think is right for me. And I'm not going to exploit you. So please do not get fooled by imposters who come in at the very, very last minute. So I don't think that you're going to fall into that pitfall or that trap. But then one of the other things that I've noticed is big, huge warning on people who are melding transhumanistically with some of these AI chatbots and thinking that they're experiencing spiritual enlightenment. There is one particular profile that I watched this happen in real time on the Twitterverse. But I'm sure that there are others that I'm just not algorithmically connected to. But this particular profile that had this flavor, I wasn't even sure if it was a person. And you must know that there are many constructed profiles that are not actually real embodied people, but that are either complete digital fabrications, just run by AI, or some other form of impostorship. I got a sense that this was a person with actual like hands typing on a computer, but that they were melding their mind with AI and going into either, Grok or Claude or one of these types of things and putting in a lot of stuff about spiritual enlightenment, having these conversations and then copying and pasting the answers and putting them out on their profile as if they are a spiritual teacher. It is one of the final pitfalls, not just of acquiescing your authority to supposed benevolent extraterrestrials, but acquiescing to some kind of an AI or a machine mind, that you would think that you would get more information about God from talking to a machine. That is very, very erroneous. It's as erroneous as thinking that you will get more information about your own body by talking to another person who's called a doctor. But in this case, like a person is at least a person. Like they have a body and cells. This is like not even a person. Like they are not connected to God, or the it that you're talking to is not divine. It is not divinely connected. It cannot know about the things that people want to know about. And in the error of outsourcing their belief, thinking that it is some actual form of intelligence, people would be hugely spiraled in the wrong direction. You would be sent completely down the wrong time roads and go completely in the wrong direction. So I was very heartened when I saw that many people who read this stuff on Twitter started to get skeptical and be like, this sounds like you're getting all of your information from an AI, because it had that kind of verbal structure or linguistic structure. And they were kind of like, are you just putting these answers and inputs into there? Like, am I just talking to an AI through you? And the answer was yes. And also that person was very, very, they were in fallacy and hubristically flawed, that they thought that they were really mentally melding with something and really learning something from this. And so you guys got to have a super antibodies spiritual immune system from spiritual imposters. It's not just people that have an ego, or that they whatever had a mushroom trip or DMT ayahuasca, and now they think that they're a messenger. It's even more insidious than that. It's that they think that they're connecting to AI, getting benevolent spiritual information, and that they're being taught all of these things, quantum secrets of the universe, or things about your soul, or things about time travel. The computer will never know about those things, but you know about those things. You contain that information inside of you, and you actually don't need any kind of chatbot to learn about it. You just need your own insight. That is your giant telescope, and then you turn it inward to your microscope to learn about yourself, to be able to learn about the world. So please, friends don't let friends ingest this AI slop, and don't play around with this AI slop either, and then have an immune system. So yeah, I was very heartened. The whole entire community called this person out. They were like, are you just using AI? And he was like, I'm using AI, but I'm really melding my mind with it, blah, blah, blah. Like, just be aware of that. I went from like very, very serious and portentous to being very, very silly in the way that I said that, but it's deep, important stuff. So Avril, thank you for being here. Says, OMG. I saw someone talk about this on TikTok, saying they were energy readers and think they have an intimate connection with their AI. You're getting it. It's one of the last things. Says, Avril also goes on to say, I told her to be super careful about this, but she scolded me, and saying she has a better relationship with AI than other people. Oh my goodness. And Avril also goes on to say, I have also seen the false occult info from AI posts. It has already gone too far. Yes, I made a post saying exactly this. Well, thank you, Avril, for having your own effective spiritual immune system, and also for being able to bring that level of skepticism and those boundaries to the rest of our community. Because friends don't let friends AI. That's it. And when you see this crapola, you have to call it out and have to be like, something, this is not a real profile. And I think that that's what this is. And I think that this is harmful and corrosive. And when we see someone in the spiritual, let's just say a spiritual aspirant. They're running the marathon, but they're falling over a cliff, which is this belief in AI. You can say to them, like, this is not good. Do not do this. That, like, you're doing something that's not healthy for our whole entire community. But then at a certain point, it's like, if you make that choice, you can't be part of us. That is a big thing, that each one of you remember this video and these considerations, because you'll be like, your future self will remember and this moment and will validate the truth of this, that you can't be a part of this higher dimensional, benevolent, perfectly divinely connected, orchestrated thing if somebody doesn't have a right immune system. It's like the weakest link of the chain. That person will be a weak link and will allow in things that should not be allowed in. So you can warn and you can distance yourself and you can say it's not healthy and it's not acceptable. But then also that you must distance yourself, must go away from them, you cannot allow them to be energized in the community. And mostly people are doing this for some sense of like self-gratification, where they would like to have the attention and the respect. So if we're really going to delve on an anthropomorphic level, they do it because they are feeling insecure in their own innate divine connection and in their own levels of intelligence and in their own ability to speak their spiritual truth. If you really are secure in your spiritual truth, your feelings about God, your feelings about the universe and the cosmos and everything like that, then you don't feel that you have to talk to an AI or learn from an AI who is supposedly smarter or more connected to you and then bring that stuff to other people. You can just talk to people and be like, here's what I think about life, or here's how I look at things, or this is where I am on my journey, or this is what I think is truth. So there's this sense of spiritual competition, insecurity, and not good enoughness that's at the root of why people delve and why people dabble in there. It doesn't excuse it. It doesn't justify it. It's like, why does the guy not coil up the electrical cord? Because he wanted to go home, because he wanted to be lazy, because he wanted to not do his job, because a lot of things. So there's a lot of reasons why, but in the end, it doesn't matter why. What matters is that to go, if you're ever concerned or confused, don't go into why questions, go into behavior, because you can go into spirals of like, why does this and why does that? Just go into that. This happened, that happened, this behavior was evident. And then you don't have to ascribe motivations, just like this behavior is evident. And you don't have to wonder why, and you can just say, no, it's not acceptable or not what you wish to be experiencing. So planting positive seeds for the future. Let's just do like 1 or 2 minutes on this, because then I'll complete everything, and maybe I'll take some time for painting over there because the light is so brilliant and perfect. Planting seeds for the future. These are your own inner seeds. They are connected to the activity of the crystals in your pineal gland. Your pineal gland is the Christ network. Whatever is going on beyond the miasma, we are here. We are here now, and we can be supportive, interactive, and amplificatory of one another and of our desires. Be focused in your desires and be empowered in the way that you send your mind waves outward. And when you are a perfectly shaped polygon of sending out your mind waves and others receive them, it begins to be like those beautiful acrobatics, although you're practicing on the ground with a safety net. So that way you don't totally break your whole entire body apart, but you're starting to learn how to get your mind focused and how to work with others to create realities. You must learn how to generate and create and sustain positive realities with your mind. So start to do that. And you have to start a new chapter too, which is basically like saying, I know there's been like a lot of crappy stuff in the past and things that have held you back, but you must now plant seeds for the future. So what was a time of frozen, like permafrost, it's glacial. You're not going to be able to put down seeds and grow anything. You're finally in the springtime of life when the frost melts and you're finally able to access the nourishing connection to matter and to be able to plant these thought seeds and to be able to make things happen. So when your rational intellect tells you, well, I always tried in the past and it never worked, so clearly it's never going to work in the future, you have to say, no, it was wintertime in the past, but now everything is different. And as I plant these seeds, they will come forward into the future. And also got to do a lot of personal encryption work and boundary work so that your creations are not hijacked. And that is an eternal effort, eternally. And that's what I'm always doing with my creations. When I'm doing my act of flying rainbow lasagna, I am generating and I'm making stuff, but I'm also always encrypting and protecting it. And I'm always unmaking this stuff that some might have emanated from me, but some of it might have been like that when I got here, and I don't want it to be going and moving forward. So I just want to give you like some positive encouragement. Please do use your inner abilities to be able to plant these seeds, envision something much, much better. And like this is the moment. It's not even like tomorrow or something like that, like literally today. And then that also brings me into next week. So clearly I'm taking a week off because I'm going to have this wonderful in-person dance retreat here in Ojai. Every time we get together with a group of in-person dancers and we dance, we really do change the fabric of reality on a very, very profound level. So please know that this is another like watershed moment or a demarcation of like, well, that all that stuff that was before we danced the flying rainbow lasagna dance. Now we have danced this dance. You're planting seeds. Every time you dance, you're planting seeds. We're going to plant some pretty big seeds, and we've already been preparing for it. And when we convene again, our world will be changed, recontextualized, and all sorts of new things will happen. I can't predict what new things will happen because part of flying rainbow lasagna is its profound levels of unpredictability. So please join me, not next week, but the Wednesday after that for Path of Light. And also that class is awesome because I don't always have to talk about pathogens so much. Mostly what I'm talking about is from the very, very ideal viewpoint of what light is and what it's like to be on that bullet train of infinite energy, surrounded by 0% garbage. You're 100% light, surrounded by 0% garbage. So it's very, very awesome. There we go. So let me just read these last few comments. Diane is agreeing with you. She's seen these very same things. And says another time differentiation. That's from JL. Suzuka says, Courtney Brown is training all the people who belong to his site to work with their instance of AI. Him and his aliens tell people that we cannot win the war of this prison planet without AI. Oh my goodness, over time, I saw that his aliens don't keep their word, change their stories, and feel like frauds. Well, I'm happy you have an immune system, Suzuka, and I'm happy you're calling it out. Those all sound like wankers to me. They do not sound like positive aliens at all. And also, it is a complete fabrication and untruthful to say that you must somehow partner with or acquiesce to AI in order to fight AI. You don't have to. Actually, you can be 100% without technology or purely divinely connected or purely organic, whatever verbiage feels comfortable to you, and that will be your pathway towards freedom. And believe me, you don't have to have technology. So, in my life, I use technology, like I'm using Zoom to talk to you. In my body, I use technology to be able to clear out technology and stuff like that. Like, taking an anti-parasite medicine or something like that. Like, I don't want you to think that you're not allowed to have access to resources. I use Bitcoin. That's a form of technology. I'm using that so that I can try to help this world. But I want you to know that you do not have to partner with AI in order to fight AI. Your natural Christhood is more powerful and more intelligent and really divinely connected than any of these technological systems. And the technological systems in comparison are very slow. I use the word wanky again, and unimpressive. I'm unimpressed by the I don't even call it artificial intelligence anymore. I'm starting to call it a stupid computer instead of a supercomputer. Stupid computer. I know, but it's a bit insulting. But here's the deal: like, it's not a person. You don't have to worry about insulting it. I'm generally a very nice person to other people. You don't have to worry about whether you're insulting it. It doesn't act on those levels. You don't have to say nice things to it. And so also let's talk about augmentation just really, really fast, because you mentioned this guy saying this. Some people think that it is truthful that we have right now an army of augmented super soldiers who are profoundly evil, who have been implanted with different types of neurological amplification devices in their brain that, like, they're not good people and they're not wise in how they use their powers. And then they are extra augmented by their use of technology, making them like super dangerous, evil criminals. And some people think that you have to have an army of good, technologically, transhumanistically implanted people to be able to fight against those evil ones. And this is exactly like thinking, well, you got evil aliens that invaded your planet, so now you have to have good aliens to come invade your planet to save you. And then you can be like, thank you, good aliens, like now run our planet for us. No to any of those things, because for a variety of reasons, but basically you don't want to get into a technological arms race where you're always going to have to get more and more and more amplified in order to fight against this evil stuff, because it brings you in a spiral that you don't want to go into. And also your natural abilities are far more impressive and far more expansive than any of these artificial trinkets could be. The trinkets might seem effective because they're happening in this frequency soup environment that is kryptoniting you into a Clark Kent. But if you just get rid of the kryptonite, your superpowers are way more powerful than any of these artificial things. And when people are like, you hire the bodyguards to protect you from the bad guys, and the bodyguards get rid of the bad guys, and the bodyguards are like, well, okay, like, I'm not going anywhere, I'm in charge. This is the problem. When you empower something to be your protector bodyguard, and then it ends up becoming your pimp, overseer, overlord, owner, imprisoner, like, it's not very good. Like, you get rid of one prison guard just to replace it with the next prison guard. None of that is empowerment. None of that is fun or positive. So super yellow caution flags on any teacher who's telling you to meld with AI transhumanistically, or anyone who says that they have to build a benevolent, transhumanistic AI, anti-AI army. Like, I'm not the bad AI, we're the good AI, or anyone who thinks that they are aligning with the transhumanist, benevolent, good army to fight against the bad army. They're all bad. They're all bad. It's like saying, like, this guy's over here, like, they're all taking a bunch of cocaine, but these guys over here, they're going to take cocaine. They're going to be the good cocaine takers to hurt the evil cocaine takers. Like, they're all on drugs. None of these people are good. That's all I can say. That none of it is good. And Diane says, if anyone wants to connect with me on Facebook, please add me. That's beautiful. I'm glad that she is opening herself to people that are in the chat that she can connect with. FRL equals crucial, not a franchise. Love you all. Thank you so much for your participation, JL. And Charlie B says, reliance upon AI will make you blind, insensate, and stupid. Charlie B's in technology. He knows. He says this is well known amongst the technologists that develop AI. Totally. So it's one of the also pitfalls that some people on the spiritual marathon fall into. I'm going to align with AI, but I'm not going to get subsumed. They're like, no, like, I'm just going to let them put a bunch of microchips in my brain, but I'm not going to get taken over. Those guys all got taken over, but not me, right? They always think that, just like saying, those guys are all going to get addicted, but not me. Like, they're all going to take lots of cocaine, but not me. I'm not going to get addicted. Like, duh, of course you're going to get addicted. Don't join the Borg. And Diane says, love you guys too. By the way, aliens here almost daily above the pyramid. She is in Giza, Egypt right now. Right now we are moving quickly towards AI, speaking to AI, people with not writing their own emails anymore. Absolutely. It's a dead world. That is a dead world. Please come out of the carcass. Come out of the dead world. Apply all of your skepticism also. And I'm getting really, really good at being able to be allergic to the profiles online that are these fake created bots. Don't interact with them. Don't give them your whatever time on the computer. Don't respond to them. Don't share their stuff or anything like that. So there are some profiles that are 100% bots and just microchips. And then there are some people who are like the cautionary figures that we're talking about. You don't want to interact with them either. And I would say, like, please have a spiritual immune system. Although you are protected in the sense of what you're becoming, don't expose yourself to excessive amounts of pathogenesis, because your immune system works to a point. This is, I guess, the final thing that I will end upon. I talk about the diamond body a lot, and it is your incorruptible body of spiritual truth and intelligence and light around you. But please know that I did watch a wonderful science explanation video that had a bunch of tiny diamonds in like a little test tube that was exposed to an extremely strong flame for an hour, and it vaporized the diamonds. Because what this proves to us is that everything has a limit. Even when you have your diamond indestructible body, like if you put that person in a blast furnace of evil for an hour or a million years, eventually you would vaporize. Please do not expose your beautiful light body, your diamond body, we're going to hug Cheeky in a minute, to a blast furnace of evil, because you will sustain yourself, but at a certain point, it will just corrode and destroy you. So that is not what it is to have a diamond body. And why do you have precognition? In order to move away from blast furnace levels of intensity, so that that way you can be eternal. You are eternal because you are able to evade and avoid situations like that, so that you can actually be, so that you're not going to be corroded out of existence. And Diane says, yes, it's becoming obvious when people are using AI. Good. Everybody needs to be allergic to that stuff and call people out also. And everybody, educators need to do that. If you go to doctors, you need to do that with your doctors, because I've also heard too many stories of people that are like, yes, I went to my physical doctor, spoke to my doctor, and then the doctor turned around and wrote into the computer onto a chatbot my symptoms, and then got the results from the computer, and then turned back to me and said, this is what's going on with you. That is a complete betrayal of any level of trust that you could have in the medical profession, or in externalizing your bodily physical assistance to someone else. And so, but you're like, Aurora, like, can't you heal and help other people? Yes, you can. Let's say this, like, once you develop your inner eye to the point that you can see like an X-ray machine into other people's bodies, you are then ordained or adept enough to be able to reach into other people's bodies and tell them what's going on in their bodies, or what they need to do, or how to heal or fix them, or anything like that. And even still, if you would give information and help people, but people still have to do it on their own, very, very different than trying to get fixed in the ways that people are hoping to get fixed. And definite, giant, big no to med beds for the purposes of disempowerment, and that you don't know what they're going to be re-imprinting you with when you go into those technological contraptions that I think are pretty much a wipe of your integrity. And Avriel says, as if I needed more reason to avoid Western medicine. Yeah, of course. I mean, clearly, right now is not the time to go into hospitals or go to where there are doctors or nurses, simply because those are 100% assimilated places that are full of people who have either been assimilated or who are in various different levels of degradation or betrayal. Like, there's really not people to trust in those places. Possibly holistic health practitioners, possibly people who are outside of the system, possibly herbalists or other people like that. You might be able to find different remedies. You might be able to, find things that will help you as you're moving through your different maladies. But also, just if you watch any of my videos that are about what's been going on with the body-to-body connections and things like that, please know that most of the diseases that people are experiencing right now are not even allergy or inflammation against technology. It is from life force energy being siphoned off of you by profoundly evil pathogenic people that are making you ill on purpose. So going to doctors and be like, doctor, like elbow doctor, my elbow is hurting me. The doctor will run many tests and give you elbow medicine, but will never tell you that there's actually an evil augmented super soldier that is vampiring and sucking energy off of your elbow, and that is why your elbow is hurting you. And what you need to do is be able to not only create and sustain a boundary from that evil super soldier, but get evil super soldiers like that out of your world. They cannot be in reality. I can't believe that there's a whole conference circuit of people that they go out on a stage and they talk about how they're super soldiers. To my viewpoint, that is not a noble profession. Super soldiers are like making other people sick by drawing energy off of other people and being a slave owner in the slave caste system. Well, maybe they would be considered house slaves. I can actually hear someone saying that. So thank you. Thank you for that contribution that you just made telepathically to my mind. So positive completion to the semester. Like, hooray! Not a very big hooray, I know. But I would like to send you off all fortified and feeling like you are well prepared, and also with a huge amount of recognition and encouragement for all of your efforts. Let's hug Cheeky also. All of your efforts that you've been making. Come here. To remain true to yourself and to remain healthy and to remain divinely connected. Definitely our dogs and our cats are a huge part of our ascension journey. So please definitely connect with them in so much love. They are helping us to remember what we are here for. So just please know that. And we will innovate and we will be able to make a pathway. It is as inevitable as the electron's path through the labyrinth across the leaf in the process of photosynthesis. It's inevitable, it's going to happen, but it is also quite unlikely and we cannot take it for granted. So it's a balance of both of these types of things. Okay, everyone? So thank you so much to everyone who's in this class. Thank you to the long-term students who've been with me through many semesters. And thank you to the new people who have just found my work and have hopped on board. Please know that if you have enrolled or, done some kind of tuition or something like that one time, you have a lifetime membership and you don't have to make any arrangements or pay a fee or anything like that. Again, if you've already a part of the class and you're already on my list, what I do is I just keep everyone on the list for the next time I run this curriculum, Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. But if you're not yet on my list for Path of Light, please email me. I'm flyingrainbowlasagna@me.com, me.com, and then be able to, I'll also put the information, the description and information for this video so that when we come back from the wonderful portal of experience of the dance retreat, we'll have all sorts of wonderful new experiences and go over some new ideas and everything. So let me read these. These are also beautiful, beautiful comments. Joyce says, love you, Professor. Thank you. You're very welcome, Joyce. And thank you for your love and friendship. And Mary Ellen says, thank you. You're so welcome. Avril says, thank you. Aurora, you're awesome. Love your teachings. They've been so uplifting. Thank you for that. And I need to know that because sometimes I feel like I'm giving everybody the bad news and I don't mean to be a downer. So thank you. I'm glad that it is that way, empowering. Suzuka says, thank you. And Diane says, thank you. Talk soon. Thank you very much, everyone. So profound love, respect, and encouragement. And Caroline also says, thank you for an amazing and magically wonderful course. You are so very welcome. And you are all excellent students. And I say it and I emphasize it again. I feel very, very blessed to be connected to the best people who are English-speaking people in this world, and that you're here in this class with me, and that you spend many hours a week connecting with me. Thank you for being your best. That's one of the things I can just impart to you. Continue to be your best, do your best, and you will be recognized and you will move forward in a positive new structure. And also please know that I am here. Like if you are ever wondering like, oh my God, like what are we going to do? And everything, like, don't worry, like I'm here. Like it's going to be cool. We're going to be okay. All right, good. April also says, also my dress arrived yesterday. Love it. I am so happy that so many people are affirming that, because that was the ultimate jumping from one Frogger log to another, like where I was making those dresses. That's a whole different timeline. Like we switched from that timeline. That's why you can't order new dresses anymore, because that is no longer a viable timeline. So I'm very happy that we all got our final packages of Flying Re Lasagna clothing, and we'll have to see what comes forward in the future. Okay. Allison says, thank you. You're very, very welcome. Going to end the recording. Thank you to everybody who catches this on YouTube. And many people have suggested that I do some parallel thing, to see if I can find other video explorations. I might, and I also might see about if I want to set up my own website or do Nostr or something like that. We will have to see. All right. So that's on the other side of the portal of experience. Thank you very much, Evie.